Welcome to the Scale Model Podcast. In this podcast, we aim to entertain, inform, and promote the hobby of scale model kit building with interviews, reviews, and news about the hobby. The Scale Model Podcast is recorded bi-weekly and is available where your favorite podcasts are found, including iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher, as well as on our website at scalemodelpodcast.com. If you enjoyed the podcast, please consider leaving a review. It does help to get our shows out to more modelers. We also publish extra video content and complete episodes on our YouTube channel. Feel free to like and subscribe to the Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Scale Model Podcast. There's also a Patreon page at www.patreon.com/Scale Model Podcast. Your Patreon support helps us cover hosting costs and gives you access to extra content as well as prize giveaways. Welcome to episode 51 of the Scale Model Podcast, sponsored by Goodman Models. My name is Stuart Clark, and I'm joined once again from the, what shall we say tonight? We shall say the air-conditioned dungeons of Goodman Heavy Industries. Can't really come up with much. And the chief cook and bottle washer, and a little bit of everything else. Mr. Anthony Goodman, how are you, sir?
Hello. I'm great, Stu. How are you?
Not too bad. This hot weather we keep getting in southwestern Ontario is obviously frying my brain.
Yeah, it's a cooker.
It is. Yeah, it's been some hot days and a good excuse to stay in and model. I tell you, thank God for air conditioning.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we have 3 Patreon supporters this time since the last show. So I want to thank Eric, Brian, and Brian for supporting the podcast. You too can become an epic, the chosen ones. I think we said.
Yeah,
what we said, the chosen ones?
The SMP Army?
The SMP Army, the SMP chosen ones at patreon.com/Scale Model Podcast. And Patreon supporters have been getting quite a bit of content lately. They've got a couple of videos that have been available to them a week in advance of everyone else. So they've been able to enjoy that. And
an exclusive contest just for them.
Exactly. So awesome stuff there.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yes. Speaking of contests, we had a general contest. So we had from Sean's Custom Model Tool, the micro prize pack, which included the model tape dispenser, which I got to get a copy of one of those from Sean sometime.
Oh, yeah.
And his Magic Tamiya GSI Creos Mr. Color, whatever you want to call it, glue holder. 2 of them, not 1. But 2.
Yeah, they're awesome too. I have one I've been using. It's great.
Okay, yeah, no, they're great. Awesome things. But yeah, so I basically took a lot of people submitted works in progress, and I am going to make an album of them. So what I did was I signed everyone a number, threw up random.org, clicked pick me a winner, and a winner came up, and our winner is Robert Perlman. So Robert, I'm going to send a quick email to Anthony, and we will email you and get you to give us your shipping information.
Yeah.
And we'll get that off. If you get it back quick, you should be able to get it. Is it this Friday?
Yep, this Friday is shipping day. Yeah.
Perfect. So there you go. So no, awesome. And again, thank you very much for that. And you did a work in progress. He had a Ma K Super Ball for the giveaway. The guy was hand brushed with Mr. Color, and he's working on weathering and a base. So is this like a Machine Krieger thing?
It is. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It looks very nice.
But, yeah, that's one of those.
Great.
Excellent. Yeah, that's one of those Super Ball. It must be. I know there's like a Fireball suit.
Okay.
This must be. There's lots of variations on that.
Very cool.
On those powered suits.
Yeah.
Looks really attractive.
Pretty awesome. So as I said, Robert, I'm going to forward that and your pictures to Anthony. He's seen the pictures already, and we'll get those sent off to you as soon as you get us your shipping information. They'll be on the way. And just a reminder, when you get them, we'd love to have a picture of it, maybe beside the kit itself or something. That'd be kind of cool, eh? Beside
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Super Bowls.
Super Bowls.
It's just one Super Ball.
Oh, okay. Again. All right, I got to behave myself. Moving on, I better do that. So some big news this week. Scale Auto Magazine is discontinuing as of October. Combat Publishing released something there, the editor there.
Yeah.
Basically, they're going to be moving the content, what they can, over to Scale Modeler. So yeah,
That's
It's
a
one of
shame.
it's one of several titles though from the publisher. So also Garden Rail is the same, and I believe there's two other ones. I think one's a bead magazine, and I'm not
Hmm.
sure what the other one is. But we've had staff from this publisher on the show, and it's a challenge these days, right? To
Yeah.
publish. So it's very, 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 very challenging times. So yeah, that's unfortunate. Hopefully the staff can find other work within the organization. I know there's
Yep.
a lot of people that are sad to see that go, but
Hmm.
again, hopefully they'll come up with something new and something to support it. So there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, off to the mailbag. We got a couple things in the mailbag. So
Oh,
Tim,
we did forget something there.
what did I
Don't
forget?
forget. You forgot to talk about our ongoing
Oh goodness me.
SMP
Well,
Build Off
I guess
Contest.
you better talk about that.
Yeah.
I zapped right over it, didn't I?
Yeah.
Terrible.
It's it's because we don't have we didn't put it in here.
I wanted
We
to say Super
forgot.
Bowl. That's what I wanted
Super
to say.
fun. Yeah.
That's why.
So our contest is open, right? Open July 1st and ends September 30th. Build any subject, any scale. Submit 3 pictures to the contest email, which is
Which is SMP. Oh, see now you're putting me on the spot. I was in
is
another screen. I'm sorry.
we'll have that there.
This is the fun we have. SMP contest 2020 at gmail.com.
Yes. So you got to submit your maximum 3 pictures, and you have to add 100-word description, maximum 100-word
Maximum
description, and
100
you
words.
make sure you put the scale. What was it? Was scale, manufacturer?
All the details. We want to know
Yeah,
what it is,
the
when it
pertinent
was made.
details.
We don't want
Yeah.
to guess. And again, our judge is Terry Meese of Terry's Trade Secrets.
Hmm.
He's going to look at
And
those and
yeah, and the grand prize,
da, da,
the
da.
grandest of grand prizes, one of
Yes,
Moscato Hobby Model's space crab, the baby crab version.
baby space crabs.
Yeah. And
Very.
do you think we should spice this up?
I think we can. I think you
Yeah.
should. Yeah, go for it.
We should have second prize?
I think a second prize would be an awesome idea. What are you
Yeah.
thinking?
Well, how do you feel about a Lamborghini Aventador?
Well, if it's 1-to-1 and in your driveway, that might be a hell of a big second prize. Or are you
Would
talking about a model of set?
Yeah. What do you think
Okay.
about a 24th scale from let me just check there. Aoshima.
Ooh, I think that would be an awesome second prize.
All right. Well, then that's what we'll do.
All right.
So,
We're gonna
also
do that.
generously donated by Moscato Hobby Models to really round it out.
Awesome. So yeah, what we'll do is we're going to update our contest page probably after I get the the
Yeah.
podcast up, and we'll update that and we'll post that out and share the heck out of it on Facebook and all the
Yeah.
all the other stuff. So
Doesn't it feel
exactly,
good to
it
give a
does.
little love to the car modeling, especially in the right now when we have the demise of Scale Auto?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I think that's or Scale Auto. Yeah,
Yeah.
you said Scale Modeler,
Or sorry, Scale
not
Auto.
Fine Scale
Yes.
Modeler. Scale. Let's not scare people even more. But no, exactly. So yeah, but first prize is great, but that's a nice looking thing. I wish I could enter, but I can't. So
Hmm.
sucks to me.
I'll send you
All
a
right,
picture.
all right. Yeah, send me a picture because you got to send me a picture and some details, and then I'll get it. We'll get it updated, and we'll throw in.
Hmm.
We'll update all our graphics and snazzy things. So
Hmm.
that's if John Moscato doesn't actually beat us to it because he's the one that actually made that very cool poster.
Yeah, it was he generously whipped that up and is helping us out with that, and it's
Hmm.
great.
Hmm.
He's got a real knack for it.
He does. He's a good graphic guy. So very
Yeah,
good. Okay. So now can I move on to the mailbag?
you may.
Okay. Just checking. My brain's, like I said, this heat and it's been a busy couple of days. I even managed to
Hmm.
travel a little bit. I'll talk about that later. So Tim writes in, hi guys. There I was listening to episode 44 when you started talking about glue bottle holders, especially the newly designed Tamiya GSI Creos glue holders. I blanked out. And the next thing I knew, I had ordered 2 holders. I hate it when that. neighborhoods? Are you doing some sort of mind control experiments? If so, can you talk about man caves? I really need to get off the kitchen table and into a dedicated modeling room. Then
Oh
he says,
yeah.
seriously, I just started listening to your show and thoroughly enjoyed, as well as On the Bench and Plastic Model Mojo. Thanks for doing the show. And this is Tim from Moscow, Idaho. Yes, there is a place called Moscow, and it is in Idaho. Man caves. Yeah, if it was that easy,
It's the magic ticket.
I know. All we can suggest is there's certainly a bunch of content out there. It's really
Yeah.
nice to have a dedicated space.
Oh, I think it changes. It changes everything, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I,
definitely.
to me, um, the biggest, or removes the biggest barrier, and that is you're working on it. Your mid project, which that takes a couple days
Hmm.
or months, but you can leave everything right where it is. So let's
Hmm.
say you just pop in for half an hour one evening, you leave
Yep,
your project, you pop in the next evening, everything's right where you left it. So to me, if you can sort of get that sort of situation or process going, it helps things along, and then hopefully you'd see more progress. Or yeah.
yep, yep. One of the things you have to watch though is if you have a spouse that's also into some sort of crafting, there may
Hmm.
have to be some negotiations,
Compromise.
compromise, negotiations. We have to have a shared room. But the things I most suggest, find a bench height that works with you. If money was no object, I would suggest a sit stand desk, one of those desks that you can power. They raise up and down, because that way you can adjust it to the height you want. And good lighting is a must. Good lighting,
That's
and
the
if
trick.
yeah, and if you airbrush, good ventilation. No,
Yeah.
no,
Well,
yeah,
I think you hit it on the nail on the head there, Stu. You gotta have. I right now I'm struggling with this. I need to revamp the lights in
yeah. I
my.
need to do mine too.
And I think I have a very nice space. I feel very lucky. I have kind of a basement bedroom, so it's kind
Hmm.
of a nice size.
Hmm.
And I mean, I'm not sure how it's going to fit my 70-second scale dataless project that I want to do. The aircraft carrier
Yep,
that sits
yep,
on the side of the Macross, but it's pretty good besides that.
yep.
So, but I gotta get better lights. I'm sort of trying to do a little research of my own on that. And then you're right about the vent, and most basements have a couple windows, so I mean,
Yeah,
just sort of set yourself up around that, even, right?
definitely.
The
Yeah,
spray
good booth
booth.
with good ventilation.
Yeah.
Storage is often a good thing. You've got to, you have clean modelers and messy modelers. Both Anthony and I tend to be. We try and keep the surfaces reasonably clean. But the
Hmm.
part of that is storage, organization. One of the things I've discovered over the years is to take the 80-20 rule. 20% of my tools I use 80% of the time. And those 20% of the tools I tend to have close at hand. The ones I don't use a lot of, I tend to have away in drawers and stuff like that. So,
Hmm.
again, give some thought to that. And you know what? There's nothing wrong as you go, things will change slightly. Like over the years, I've moved things
Yeah.
around, and again, I keep looking now and again over at mine, and I almost feel it needs another bit of a revamp as
Yeah.
I
I'm
work and all that.
always like doing a shop overhaul or
Yep,
shop inventory.
yep.
Yeah, making improvements for sure. The biggest improvement that I made was I have this little bedroom. Just imagine that, and there's a small like a basement style window, right? So
Hmm.
I put the my pace airbrush booth under that and run the vent up, and I made something to fit in the window.
Hmm.
Um, so I had this. My desk though was sort of yeah, I had to turn 90 degrees to do the work. The
Hmm.
main work with the tools and the main light and my mat and all that stuff and all the desktop space. So the problem there is that I would turn over, and with the crappy lighting, I couldn't see what I was painting. And I had a friend come over, um, the irrepressible Larry Watson from the London
Yes.
IPMS Club, and he was showing me a couple airbrush tricks and teaching me a few things. And he started to airbrush where the light was
Yep.
at my bench.
Hmm.
And I looked at that. I was like, whoa, he's just going for it. And he was just, he was getting into the zone. He was just doing it. And I thought, okay. So after we did that, I moved the airbrush booth
Yep.
right dead center. So it's
Yep.
like my working zone. I can go from painting, and I did have to run the vent a bit further, but maybe, maybe it was 5 feet, now it's 10 feet. So I'm kind of
Right.
I'm within the fan still being capable.
Cool.
And so you got to look around and like, what can you do to make your flow
Hmm.
easier? Like once you get that space, if you have like a corner of the basement or whatever, figure out what processes you do the most and kind of
Yep.
prioritize them and kind of make it work in that space.
Yep. Exactly. And that's,
Yeah.
that's always a good thing to know. Yeah, no, like I said, with me, I've still got mine on the 90 degrees, but I've got a pretty strong light almost inside the
Yeah.
airbrush booth.
I just
So
like not having to um, kind of shift from my sort of
yeah,
primary
yep,
spot that
yep.
I,
And I see what you're saying.
live in.
Yep, and I'm a little bit of the opposite. I like having, because I've got a process of when I paint and airbrush,
Yeah.
so I
Hmm.
like having that just slightly separate, just to keep things separate, so I'm not like having the thinners and everything in the way of the workbench and
Yeah.
all
So you
that.
have it
And
set up
again,
the way you want, right?
yeah,
The way
it
that
all comes
works.
down to your personal style. So
Yeah.
definitely, Tim, look at what other people are doing. But in the end, don't be surprised. You might do a couple of things because someone else is, but don't be surprised if down the road you
Yeah.
eventually say, no, this isn't quite working. Let me adjust it. It's your room. You have
Yeah.
to do what works for your workflow.
Now, didn't the boys from On the Bench did a really great episode just recently, all about man caves, and I hate that word,
Yep,
it's kind of stump, but
I know.
workshop
Yep,
spaces, man caves, and
yep,
that, and it was really interesting because there are a lot of different people will figure out stuff, but I think it's like Stuart was mentioning, you got to figure out what do you want to do, what's your process,
yep,
find, and I think a lot of people, you just naturally do constant, upgrade, right?
yep,
Constant improvements as you do something, something doesn't work or something's a pain, and you figure out, well,
yep.
how do I eliminate that pain, make it
Exactly.
work? Yeah.
Exactly. And you'll be surprised where you find things. I'm just, I'm looking over here and like I've got an old Lazy Susan from a kitchen thing as a turntable. I use
Hmm.
multiple cutting boards to bring the height up. Yeah, all sorts of things. But the idea is, yeah, you want your tools that you use the most within reach. I'm just looking at my bench now, and I've got a Panzer IV on there. And right
Hmm.
now, because I'm doing some basic assembly, I've got my sanders there, my snips are there to take the stuff off the sprues. A couple of your sanding blocks are out, obviously, and just within reach on a shelf, I've got the extra thin cement. And
Nice.
that's what I used to build. And when I'm doing more weathering or stuff like that, I'll do something else. I know model railroaders do it a lot. They'll have, especially model railroaders do it a lot because you have an awful large layout, multiple people working on it. They'll
Yeah,
have
a lot of
kits.
stuff.
They'll have little tool kits designed for each process. So if you're ballasting, they'll have a ballasting toolkit, with all the stuff for that. If they're
Hmm.
decaling, they'll have that. And I don't have separate ones, but I do tend to know exactly, what I need. If I'm gonna decal, I get the stuff I need out for that. The
Yeah.
scissors, the setting stuff, the water, and everything else goes away. But that's just the way I work. Everyone has a different way. So
Yeah, there's a saying that toolboxes are where tools go to die, right? Because if you there's some thought to having things that you can set up so that you can see
yeah,
them,
you can
right?
see. Yeah, I used to
It's
subscribe to that.
tough. It's
No, see, I don't
tough.
anymore because
Yeah,
I kind of know what's, like I said, the 80/20 rule. There's like
yeah.
little micro chisels and that, but I don't use those often. So they're in a drawer out of the way, like so I have more
Yeah.
space. It's you'll be
I think.
surprised. Like I did. I made the point one day. I kind of did a build and I kind of,
Hmm.
I know it's geeky, but I kind of went, okay. I kind of made note of everything I touched in terms of tools and roughly how often.
Yeah. Oh, I
And you'll
like
be
this kind of
surprised.
stuff. Yeah.
You'll be surprised. Like,
Hmm.
there is some specialty tools. Like I've got these trumpeter little micro chisels, and they're great if you've got to get rid of a seam or something inside. But
Hmm.
I don't use them on every build. So why have them out? It's literally right there to my right in a drawer. I can literally get it, boom,
Hmm.
bring it out. Where in terms of alligator clips or my sprue cutters, stuff like that, I use every time. So it's right
Yeah.
there, right available in a little basket, just to the right. Same thing with my airbrush booth. I've got all my thinners, all my stuff like that, it's all on top in a little basket, easily available. Things
Mm-hmm.
like masking sheets and that aren't. Things like tomato tape is in a drawer above because I don't
Yeah.
need to have it out all the time and getting in the way.
I think one of the improvements that I've been wanting to do for a while is I'm going to actually put some labels. So I have like a sliding cabinet,
Yep.
like a toolbox, and they're organized,
Yep.
and they're the things that I sort of less frequently use, but that
Hmm.
are at my, in my reach. But I'm going to label the outside of the drawer just
Yep.
just to give that extra
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
like, oh, where's that thing, or what's that? Did I have something that could help me with this? And then I recently got some other kind of storage, small storage shelves, and I'm going to do the
Hmm.
same to that because I mean, half of them are empty, which is great, and then half of them are kind of filled with some random stuff. And the other day I had to rifle through every drawer to find
Yeah.
something that I
Yeah.
was thinking of. So
Now here's
labeling, yeah.
right. Now here's something interesting because I know you do it. I know a lot of other modelers. I don't because I just don't have the room.
Hmm.
Is a lot of people like making shelves and putting all their paints up for display, or as
Yes,
I call
yeah,
it, for display. I know it's, for a lot of people, they like it that way because they can easily see the color. In
that's
my
what I
case,
like.
yeah, I don't really have the wall space because
Yeah.
I'm using that to hold tools and more common things. I do have a paint and finishing rack. It's an old Vallejo primer rack
Hmm.
from a store that went out of business, but all my paints I keep in a plastic rollout drawer right below the airbrush booth.
So
And yeah,
you can see the whole catalog
I
then
can see
when
it.
you
Yeah.
open the lid.
Now there is, it takes a little bit longer because if I need to find a particular gray, I may have
Yeah.
to because I can't see all the labels because they're stuffed in there. But
Hmm.
again, different people like doing things different ways. It seems
Yeah,
to
I
me.
really I built the paint shelf and I
Yep.
love it because
Yep.
I just want to see them all kind of
Exactly. Yeah.
in,
I
relation to each other.
yeah. I think if I had more room or some different storage, I might.
Yeah.
But at the moment, this is the way it's evolved, and it's it works well. It works well for me.
Yeah, you've got
So
your
yeah.
system. Geez, we
Okay.
could talk about this
We
forever,
could.
Stu. There's a
You
lot
could.
to.
There's a lot of cool ideas. And again, that's why I said to Tim, just go online and search on model benches or on
Yeah.
various forums. There's always people showing their workbenches and stuff like that. And again, whatever works for you, just don't be surprised if once you've used it for a while, you decide to change it. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh yeah, it's
So
part of
yeah,
the process,
it
right?
is. It is.
And I'm just trying to
As your
think, where
modeling
was that?
changes.
On the bench. Oh, I think it's their most recent episode,
I think
episode
they was.
88.
Yeah,
Yeah, what should
they
your
talked
bench
about
look
it.
like?
Hmm.
And it was very interesting. It's something that I really think about a lot because I think part of that, the more you think about it and kind of work it out and make sure you've got tools handy, make sure you've got an inventory of your bits and
Yep.
bobs. You're not rebuy. Like, how many times have you gone and you rebought the same color paint?
Oh, I know. Well, and again, I think we were talking about that earlier in the week.
Yeah,
I have a little spreadsheet I keep on my phone
yeah,
for all my paint because yeah, and that's the thing I do find with the drawers. I can't see at a glance without going through, but I
yeah.
have the spreadsheet for
To
that
be
because I'm
honest,
willing to.
I can't see at a glance either. But
Yeah,
I'm old school. I actually got a Mr. Color catalog, and I check off the
you
ones I
check
got, so I
off.
can grab that
It's like
on the
hockey
way.
cards. It's like hockey
Yeah.
cards. Got it.
So
Need it.
yeah, I can see that. Oh, could you order me one of these? And then
Yep. Yep.
um, it's I just keep track that way. Which
Yeah.
I don't buy paint that often. It's an
No, but
inconvenience or
see,
anything like that.
I actually use it for paint and I use it for finishing and stuff like
Yeah.
that. In fact, I made some purchases on the weekend. I have to remember to
Hmm.
add to the chart, but we'll talk about those a bit
Hmm.
later on. Okay,
Yeah.
Tim. So hopefully we've given you some food for thought there.
Absolutely.
Okay, Terry writes, hope all is well with you and Anthony. And before my question, I would like to say you guys are killing it with each episode, better than the last, so keep it coming. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
My question is for you specifically. I guess he's
And
talking to
you,
me.
Stuart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me. And you'll see why in a second. I often hear you mention that you're a fan of the Vallejo surface primers. I am contemplating giving them a try. Any advice you can give about thinning, using the flow improver, or any other tips or tricks would be greatly appreciated. Terry in Central Pennsylvania.
Well, this is
Okay,
all you, Stu.
this is all me. So yeah, I know. This is so just like we were talking about, there's more than one way to, I guess, skin a cat. I think
Yeah.
my producer is having a nap beside me. His ears
Well,
just
don't say
perked.
that too loudly.
I
Yeah.
know, Mr. Sparkles will be annoyed. Anyway, yeah, I like the Vallejo primers, but, like any product, and this is what I constantly say on the forums and whatnot, just because it works great for one person, it may not work for someone else. So there is some valid points that people write about the Vallejo primers. It is not as strong as, because it's an acrylic base, it's not as strong as a lacquer base,
Hmm.
or even like stuff like the Styrens by Badger, or the lacquer
So
base like Mr. Color.
I've heard. I mean, of course you've heard somebody say something great about each one.
No matter what. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but again, you have to try it yourself. So,
Yeah.
what I like about the Vallejo is they come in a bunch of different colors. Through my Patriot airbrush, they go without thinning at all. The odd time I will add a touch of the Vallejo. I don't even use the flow improver. I just use the thinner. I don't know if it's because where I am or where I spray, I don't have a problem with tip dry, where some people do.
Yeah.
I love them because they're acrylic base. I can do like water or Windex. I know people are going to be screaming at me through their speakers.
I'm shaking
Um,
my head,
or
Stuart.
acrylic cleaner or whatever, but they're easy wash and they don't stink to
Yeah.
hell and back. I don't have to use
That's
lacquer
important.
thinners.
Yeah.
And for me, they give a really good base coat. Now, people say if you sand it, this comes off. Yes, it's true. But I don't tend to use,
Oof.
just the way I build, if I have to do a bit of sanding afterwards, I'll give it another shot of primer. That's me. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
But I find when you put that on, then acrylic paint like Tamiya, Vallejo, whatever, it just sticks to it and it's really good. I really enjoy it. I
Yeah.
always give it 24 hours to dry. It dries
Mhm.
very quickly, but I always give it 24 hours no matter what primer I use.
Interesting.
And again, I just like it. It works for me. They're black in particular. I built a 1/72 scale Defiant Night Fighter from World War II, and
Hmm.
it's in a black color scheme. Well, I put the black primer on, and
And
why
you're
do I need
there.
a? Yeah, why do I need a black? It looked great. It comes up in a
I've
matte,
used the
and
black primer on I mean, not the Vallejo brand,
yeah, but your
but
own, yeah,
Mr. Color, and yeah, I've noticed the same thing. That's a really nice shade. That'll
that
work for
works.
that.
That
So I
works
kind of
exactly.
incorporate it into the painting.
So I really enjoy it. I have quite a few bottles. I actually got quite a few bottles on closeout when this particular store closed in town.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy it now. I do use as well. I use the Styrens as well. It's very, very good primer as well.
No, Stynol Res, that's not an acrylic.
Badger. Yeah, that is an acrylic.
It is. So it's
Yeah,
sort of a direct competitor to the
yeah. So
Vallejo.
Badger manufactures it in the UK. Ultimate Modeling Products has a rebrand, and I believe it's Ammo. Their one shot. It's a rebrand of that stuff as well. Comes in multiple
Oh,
colors. Now, a lot of people out, they prefer the Styrens for the acrylic because they say it does go on tougher. Um, I can't, I can't speak to that. I've used both. They both work very
yeah.
well for me. I don't have tip dry, etc. There's a lot of people out there that don't like it, think, oh, I've got to use lacquer primer. I got to use lacquer primer. Well, if it works for you, great. Um,
I love the lacquer primer,
yeah,
but
yeah.
you
And
know,
again, but you also
I
spray a
haven't
lot of
tr-
lacquers, right?
I haven't tried. It's not like I've tried every brand
No.
either. I mean,
And
I've got
and
something that
again, you
works and
do
I'm
what works
rolling
for
with
you. Yeah.
it.
I've sprayed Mr. Color as a primer. Yeah, it's great, but it stinks to hell and back.
Yeah, you gotta
Um,
be running the fan.
yeah, exactly. So I find it works for me. As I said, yeah, I don't tend to sand a lot afterwards. If I do see an imperfection, it I'll sand it, and if I need to put primer back on, I give it another shot. That's me.
Now, can I ask you a question to
Of
follow up
course you
about
can.
this? So, because I often the primer to me is supposed to reveal flaws, so I'm
Yes, and it
definitely
will.
always sanding it. But what
Hmm.
I've noticed about the lacquer primers, Mr. Surfacer in particular, is that so when I sand it, it has a very feathered edge
Mm,
right between the unsanded part and then where I've gotten back down to the plastic.
okay.
Now, I sort of wonder when you're using like the one shot primer or the Vallejo,
Hmm.
is does it peel up or like what's the issue?
It just seems to sand. Well, again, for me, if I sand it, it sands off fairly easily, just
Okay.
like anything else, right? Like, see, this is the thing I don't quite get. Like, are these people when they say, "Oh, I can sand it"? Yeah, okay, it's showing imperfection, but if you're sanding it to get
Yeah.
to the plastic, don't you have to go through the primer?
Well, like for example, when I prime something up,
Hmm.
um, you can it does let you see things that you miss. So then you're like maybe back to putty, right? And then you're sanding that, and then I'm touching up the the area I worked on. But I also will sand the all of it, the whole part, with a very high grit or like a micro mesh, just to knock down any kind of graininess that might
and I think
happen.
I don't tend to be perfectly honest, I don't tend to do that as much, and I think that's where people are complaining.
Yeah, I do that a lot, but I mean, usually Mr. Surfacer, it's already like very smooth. The way I'm getting it, which is awesome, and then that just helps it to even be finer, because I'm going to be applying more color layers on it too, right? You don't want any kind of mark, like you don't want any kind of grit, grain, none of that stuff, right?
And I've to be honest, I have used a very fine sandpaper, like sometime for whatever reason, a bit of dust or something. And I
you just
put it
knock
on
it
the
out.
Vallejo or the styrens. I've done that, and it's fine.
Okay.
But I think that's my understanding. That's why a lot of people don't like it, because you don't do that. People who do the whole thing, which I admit I don't do as often, it's not as tough. Now, again, people say the styrens is better. Now, I'll give you another example when we come to paint. Okay, as most people know, I love Tamiya. I love Aqueous, etc. I also have quite a lot of Vallejo. I love their Model Air. Their, Tamiya goes on great. I can just mix it with my eyes closed practically. The Model Air I don't use as often, but there is some shades, and I find that works very well as well. Their traditional model color, it's great for brush painting for me.
Yeah, I've heard this
I
as well.
have a devil of a time. I've read up, I've tried different ways. I just can't, I always have a lot of difficulty getting it the right consistency in the airbrush, me personally. I know other people, and we've read about other people, that it's the exact opposite. They have trouble getting Tamiya to work for them, but they have no problem. They can do it with their eyes closed.
I thought Model Air, I thought it comes like pre-thinned.
Model Air comes pre-mixed, but they have their main line, which is their model color, it doesn't.
So you just have to work it out.
Yeah, but I find where normally, I always say the consistency of milk. Larry Watson, who we were talking about before, when he taught me 20, 30 years ago, he kind of said the consistency of skim milk. Okay, I try and do that. I can, and that works for me with Tamiya. There's some slight variations. White and yellow in particular, you may do a bit thicker. But I find with the regular Vallejo model color, when I try and shoot that through an airbrush, I am consistently challenged getting the right consistency that goes through. I either get tip dry or I get splattering. It's a lot more work. So I want to enjoy my modeling, and I want to, so I go with that.
But that paint line specifically was meant to be a brush painting line, and that's why Model Air came out. So why would you pick that?
I know, but because there was some colors that they didn't have originally.
Oh, okay.
And again, keep that in mind. But again, there's other modelers out there that have no problem with it, and you'll find that everywhere. So I always kind of say there's no fast and hard rules. This is why I always like trying. I love trying new products when they come out. We got so many different paint lines, it's great, but in some ways I want to try different stuff. For example, AK's got their 3rd generation acrylics coming out. I haven't been able to get any yet, but I just want to try them just to see what they're like. Unless it's a fantastic improvement over my Tamiya or over Aqueous, I'm not going to like go out and buy a bunch of them. But there might be some shades, and if it works, it's great. It's the same thing with the Model Air. Like, I am not a person who needs to have the exact color. Sorry, guys, I'm not entering a contest. If it's close enough for me, I'm happy. If I can get it close enough with Tamiya, then great. But there's times I will look. If there's a model color that's really spot on, I'll use that. I'll happily spray it. It works great. It works great for me. I use a bit of flow improver, a bit of their thinner. And but the Model Air, I just find, it's a great brush paint, but for me personally, I just have real trouble with it.
Well, I think it's worth noting, especially for Terry here, that like when you meet somebody at the club or show, and they're like, I have no problem with Model Air. Well, keep in mind they, more than likely that person spent some time with problems. And figuring it out, and like painting on a mule or painting on a piece of paper, like I do endless experimenting
And that's the important thing. Yeah.
until it's perfect, and then I commit,
Yeah.
and yeah, it looks like no problem.
Yeah.
But
So if you're going to
like
use
you
if you're going
figure
to
it
use
out.
this stuff, yeah, don't use it
Yeah,
right away on your kit you're working on. Get some plastic sheet,
yeah,
get it out. I tend to spray it. I'll sometimes up the PSI slightly. I tend to spray through my compressor. It
yeah,
shows up about 18 PSI. Again, you're going to have to, your mileage will vary. I tend
yeah,
to sometimes turn it up slightly, and maybe
yeah,
that's why I don't get tip dry just for the primer, and then I turn it back down for everything else. But yeah,
yeah.
definitely give it a try. Thin coats. You don't need to like put it on thick. Do a couple of thin coats.
Thin
It's
is
far easier.
key. Thin
Yep,
is key.
yep. It's far easier. Play around with it. Again, depending where you are, you may find. Again, I have put a drop or two of the thinner in the odd time. I don't recall if I've used the flow improver. I'm sure it works fine, but I don't recall doing that. I do use the flow improver when I've sprayed the model layer. But
Yeah,
yeah, give it a try. Anything like that. Hopefully you haven't bought like 12 or 13 bottles. Like I said, I bought a pile of bottles after I'd used it for a while because
yeah,
this shop was going out of business at the time. The Styrens, the Badger stuff wasn't there, and there really wasn't a good acrylic primer. And this stuff worked
yeah.
great. So I have all
But
sorts of colors.
even if you did, end up with a little collection of them, don't don't give up. Just
No, play around.
grab an old
Yeah,
model,
play
an old
around.
paint needle you
Yeah.
don't care about, and start
Yeah,
experimenting.
the
Try
only
and keep
thing
track
only
of what
other
you're
thing I
doing.
can think of is again you're not obviously, and I don't think you would, if you've got a couple of airbrushes, you're not obviously going to put it in your tiny detail brush. Like I said, I use it in my um in my Antium 105, my actual Patriot,
Hmm.
and or I use it in the larger Badger. And like I said, I tend to spray it a little bit, higher pressure, and and again, I just, even though I'm doing light coats, it's actually slightly heavier coats than if it was paint, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah,
keep all my
just
stuff
slightly.
thin.
I do
I
too. I
Yeah,
do
I
too, but
keep
I'm
mine all
saying
really thin.
if you had me spray a card one pass with the primer versus one
Yeah,
pass with paint, I'm probably putting just a fraction more material
yeah,
on using the primer than I am the paint, but that's me. But
yeah.
again, yeah, this stuff's great. I love it, and like I said, give it a whirl, see if you like it. If you do, great. But also be open to trying new things, Terry.
Yeah, experiment, and I think sometimes the experimental process, it's more than kind of like a one go, oh, I've made a decision.
Yeah,
Sometimes you gotta really, think
yeah.
around with things.
You
That's what
really,
I'd
you
say.
you
Yeah.
really do. And so, for
Think
example,
around.
I bought
Yeah.
some new weathering stuff I haven't tried before. Well, I'm definitely going to try that on a test mule before using it in anger, shall we say?
Yeah,
Yeah,
committing the crime, right?
yeah. Well, again, with this tank I'm working on, I'll talk about it later. Yeah, there's a bunch of different weathering techniques I'm going to try, but yeah, I'm going to try it on a few different things.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's move on to our latest hobby announcement. Speaking of
Yeah.
AK, I did mention them. As
Hmm.
usual, they're releasing a ton of new stuff in July. So if we talk about, we were actually just talking about their generation. Actually, we'll talk about the Generation 3 in a second. We have a new book, Real Colors of World War II, part of this series. Now they're focusing on armor. So this is the second edition of this and updated. It's
Hmm.
228 pages, about €50, and you can also get it digitally as well. This is pretty cool if you're into World War II armor. An absolute ton of color pictures. What I like about these books, they're spiral bound, so you can lay
Oh,
them
that's
flat
nice.
or just expose
Yeah,
one page or whatever.
that's a good
Um,
way to go.
yeah, so 228 pages, 244 archive, including 54 in original, 15 modern photographs, numerous color chips, several reproduction of original color samples, camouflage and other documents, and 43 color profiles, of which more than half have been specially commissioned for this edition. So obviously here they're talking, they obviously quote their own materials, but if you're an armor guy, this is a pretty awesome thing if you want to get accurate
Yeah,
accurate colors and stuff like that. Just the sample pictures they show with the
this is
color
pretty,
chips and that.
yeah, very
Yeah,
impressive.
yeah. So they're calling, our friends at the Modeling News are calling it the new definitive guide on World War
Yeah,
II AFE colors
seems
for
that
the
way.
modelers, wargamer, and armchair historians. Okay, next up we have Aces High magazine. issue 17 called Torpedo Octun. So this is €9, and again, 88 pages, and you can get it as a digital copy. So this one they're dedicating to torpedo planes, primarily during the First World War. So you've got some good examples. They've got a Beaufighter there, a Lockheed P3 Orion. What else? Some of the Japanese, some French stuff. Oh, here's the list. So the TBM-3 Avenger, the Beaufighter, the B-5N Kate, the Lockheed Orion, the Fairey Swordfish, and the Lake Corey, I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, 298. So again, they go through some full details on how to build these things up, use the AK products. So if you're into these in particular, this might be one to check out. Next up, we have the Worn Art Collection. This is number 2, and this is all about chipping. Everything you wanted to know about chipping, 124 pages if you want to know.
Wow.
€18, and it covers, looks like if you look at the cover, it covers sci-fi, aircraft, armor, whatever. So a full-on detail for all different techniques for chipping. I'm actually looking forward to the kit I'm working on now. I'm going to be trying chipping for the first time, or at least hairspray chipping. So this one might be a winner. And again, it's quoting AK products, of course, but I'm sure you could apply it with different things. So they so they cover a 1940 Westinghouse cola cooler, a D7 tractor with towing winch, a MiG-31, a BR-DM2 late, an M47 Patton, a Russian Gaz 66 oil truck, an M1070, an M1000, and Slave 1. So yeah, that's available too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, okay, now we move on to the 3rd generation acrylics, which AK, they released these a couple of months ago, and they've got an absolute huge line of colors.
Wow.
So you're starting to see color sets now. So this is their neon color sets. So these are like very, very bright, very intensive. So basically fluorescent yellow, magenta orange, fluorescent orange, luminous orange. I don't know what the difference is there, but there is a difference. Fluorescent green and fluorescent blue. So you get a nice little 6-pack set there. It'll set you back about €15.50. Very bright. You're going to see these like, yeah.
What makes them, like, what makes that brightness pop out? Like
uranium,
what actual
uranium 235, perhaps.
Yeah.
Just don't get them. Just don't put them right next to your head.
Yeah, I was just thinking about fluorescent colors and what perhaps I'm gonna have a bench to bench chat with a fellow modeler about that soon. But what makes colors fluorescent? Because I was thinking about the wings of the Lancaster in the 50s RCAF rescue livery.
That's pretty bright, yeah.
It's very bright, and that like on the arrow had those orange. Like obviously it's high vis marking, right?
I remember years ago, Testers enamel, they had glow in the dark paint.
I remember that.
Yeah, for your cars and that. And again, you got to wonder what was in there way back when.
Nothing good.
Maybe I should take a Geiger counter and find those little bottles and check them out. No, I'm kidding. Okay, next up, they also have an intense color set. So these are 6 acrylic paints, quote, essential for painting any intense effect on any figure. The intensities make these paints very special. So again, they've got a large number of, so it's deep yellow, deep orange, deep red, deep purple, deep green, deep blue. So like the deep red, you were talking about the arrow or whatever. Yeah, definitely. So they can show some nice figure examples there. So again, and again, these are brush painted, but they can be diluted with their thinner. Again, this is some of the stuff I want to try. Okay, next up, a metallic multi-scale triangular ruler. So for those of you who are not of a certain age, this is a drafting ruler. I'm just going to point that out. But yeah, no, basically they've got drafts people way before CAD CAM and that. Some of you kids may not know that, but you know, in the old days, we learned how to draw on paper. But this one, and you get rulers at different scales for architecture. Well, this one's kind of cool because it has centimeters, inches, 1/35th, 1/72nd, 1/48th, plus a centimeter scale. So
that's pretty awesome.
Ones.
You can't get those scales on drafting
not
scales.
On a drafting one. Luminous scales perfect for different jobs. Yeah, so it's quite cool.
Yeah,
Some people
that
are
is
going to say,
neat.
where's the 124th or where's the 132nd? Well,
Uh,
too bad.
well,
But
you should be able to divide 1/48 in half, right, and use that
yeah, I
scale.
know,
No
but
problem.
some people are talking math. They might not think about that.
Just gotta is double it
Yeah,
or half it.
yeah,
Now it's aluminum.
it's
I
aluminum.
love how they got a picture of a guy cutting with like a utility knife,
Yep,
like using it as a straight edge.
yep.
I think aluminum. You know what? You could cut into aluminum.
If you're
It's
not
not.
careful,
It's
yeah,
soft.
yeah. But
Yeah,
it's still not bad. But they say you can use it as a helping tool for bending parts.
that for sure.
Yep,
I could see that. I would use it for that too.
yep,
This is
exactly.
really neat because I often want to. I have this like scaling math problem come up once in a while when I want
Mm-hmm.
to. So let me give you an example of this problem I had where this kind
Okay.
of thing would be really neat. I was doing a diorama with a 70-second scale Valkyrie years
Hmm.
ago. The in the Canon they've in the Canon of the Canon. So it has a gun pod, the GU11 gun pod, where they've created these fictitious stats for it. So it
Right.
fires a 5.5 centimeter shell,
Okay.
right? So it's a 55 millimeter shell.
Yeah. Big
Um,
honkin' shell.
it's a big shell, big gun in 70-second scale. So I got to thinking, well, certainly I can get, if I could just figure out how to translate between scales, I could
Hmm.
maybe find a 35th scale shell that would be it would
The
be
right
in
diameter.
scale,
The right
right?
diameter and scale. Yep. No, I
You
know what
know,
you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many aftermarket brass
Yep. Yep.
shell, World War
Yep.
II era stuff and modern that something that could look the part but actually, fit the scale. And
Yep.
so I was trying to do the conversions between. So it'd be nice to have a
Right.
ruler to kind of help you.
Yeah. Exactly. No, this I could see being used. So following up with that, last but not least, is
Hmm.
a Spraycraft Spay Can trigger grip. So I've seen these at like home improvement stores
I
and all
have one
that.
of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, what it is it allows you, you put this on top of your spray can and you use the trigger instead of pushing down the button. So it
Yeah.
really does help with control in that.
Hmm.
And of course, you don't get the stain on your finger. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's actually really good. And it'll fit all standard spray cans. So if you don't have an airbrush and you're a lot, spray canning a lot, is that a word?
Hmm.
Anyway,
Hand
um,
bombing? I don't know. Yeah.
hand bombing, yeah, this is really handy. These are really good. I've used these for like jobs around the house and stuff like that, and they're very handy. So
Hmm.
it's neat that they're kind of taking one and doing their own. So that is all the stuff from our good friends at 8K this month.
Hmm.
Absolute ton, I say. Okay, moving on. We have Dora Wings. They've got a new release, the 148th Republic P-43 Lancer. I think we
Hmm.
talked about this ages ago. This is a little known. This was a high altitude fighter. This was kind of the precursor to the P-38 Lightning. So this was a direct descendant of, let's say, the P-40. So Republic
Hmm.
built these in the early war years because it could go very, very high. Um, it was pressurized and all that. Big problem wasn't a lot of armor in that. So it didn't, they
Uh,
didn't use it long, but actually got a fair bit of use. But
hmm.
it's not as well known, so there hasn't been a lot of kits of it. So I just thought I'd point this one out. It's 148 scale. So it comes with some nice photo etch and stuff like that. So our good friend Brett Green at Hyperscale, he did a nice little preview, and we're gonna link to it.
Hmm.
And it looks like a nice little kit if you're into the U.S. aviation history and stuff like that. Yeah, it was. Some of it was land lease and all that. They built more than they expected. But yeah,
Oh.
the thing was, it had a Razorback fuselage similar to the
Hmm.
P-47. But yeah, the idea is it went very, very high, very good high altitude performance. But again, just didn't have the armor in that. And it was a good stopgap. But I remember, and I'm just trying to find the Wikipedia entry for here. This thing went high enough that I thought someone took photos of Mount Everest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 1942. So Robert Lee Scott Jr., a U.S. Army Air Force pilot, photographed the peaks of Mount Everest from 44,000 feet. So
Cool.
yeah, but they did, they noted the fuel tanks were easily punctured, making it easier to shoot down with P-40s. The
Mm.
type was replaced by other aircraft. So it was used a lot in China and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the U.S. Army Air Corps considered the P-43 and its variants obsolete from the start and used them for training purposes.
Yes. Okay.
So it was definitely just before the war, but again, the Chinese used them, and again, for reconnaissance and that, until the P-38s came along, it did very well. So it's nice to see it being represented here by Dora Wings. So that is now available.
Excellent.
Okay, also in 48 scale, a 48 scale Mustang from Bronco. So this one's going to feature 5 different markings from the Korean War.
Mm-hmm.
So again, just different variants. They've released this kit already. So this contains the plastic parts and decals from the Korean conflict. This looks, again, very nice looking. Got some nice decals here. Now, around 1948, when they established the U.S. Air Force, they changed the name. So it went from P, which stand for destroyer, to the F of fighter. So P-51 became F-41. And the F of the photo reconnaissance aircraft was abolished, and F-6D and F-6K were changed to RF-51D and RF-51K.
Interesting.
Yep. So
These
yeah,
are
very
really,
nice. Yeah, some nice schemes here.
these are really attractive. Like
Yep.
makes you want to build one. I
Well,
like the Korean one.
more and more I've been looking at the Mustang, and it's one I haven't built. So I got a ton of Spitfires, but I haven't built a
Mm-hmm.
Mustang, and I just have to decide now. And I want to build.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to build a Second World War one, but one of these aluminum ones.
Yeah.
The aluminum schemes and that. I recently bought some Vallejo, their metal color, just specifically for this. But there's some cool things here. You've got markings for South Korean Army, U.S. Air Force, South African Air Force, and the Royal Australian Air Force are
Wow.
included here. So yeah, so there's quite a few. So
Very
it's supposed to
cool.
be out
Yeah.
in the next few months. So all you P-51 fans, check that out. Okay, here's another
Yeah.
one making some buzz. TACOM's going to make an updated Panzer III, Austin in 1/35 scale.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the short-barreled version, apparently, in their Blitz range. So the Blitz ones from TACOM are fast builds with plenty of details. So you don't get a ton of parts, shall we say,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't get like 900 parts just to assemble a shovel. It might be 3. Maybe I'm exaggerating slightly, but it's got some photo etch.
Mm-hmm.
So protective turret with the all-around suspension. There's a bit of history here. We'll link to. But I guess from what I've seen on the forums, it's one that hasn't been done in a while, especially in this range. So I'm sure there'll be
Yeah.
some exciting
Huh.
things. So Lincoln length tracks, hatches can be posed open or closed. There's no interior. Photo etch for the smaller detail that cannot easily be replicated. And there's 4 different marking details. So due in August.
Yeah, looks like a nice kit.
It does, yeah, very popular one. All right, Artillery, more stuff coming in July. Bunch of, as usual, very wide range of things. First of all,
Yeah.
a Monster 1/32 scale for the big aircraft guys. Set you back €98, an F-104 Starfighter, also known as the plane, which was the plane as the missile with a man in it. Finely
Yeah.
engraved recessed panel lines and rivets, fully detailed engine, avionics bay, open or closed air brakes, photo etch prep, more than 300 parts, 6 decal versions. So that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got, looks like, 6 different Air Force ones.
This
All
really
cool.
seems to me the way that model companies are going to differentiate their product, when competing amongst each other. It's like, it can't cost that much to develop like a decal sheet with,
Oh yeah.
4,
Look
5,
at
6, 8, 10 different schemes, right?
look at Hasegawa. They've been doing it for
Yeah.
years. If you look at
Yeah.
how many variants of their F-18 there are on ScaleMates, it'll surprise you.
Using the same base kit
And they just slap different decals
and
and
but
sometimes
giving you
change the weaponry
options.
slightly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
No, I
even
think a
even
lot
in
of.
one, you've got one kit to sell, and
Mhm.
it's got a pretty healthy price point there.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
not a cheap kit, but you've got 6 included in the box. Like
Hmm.
something I've noted about like Hasegawa and their Valkyrie, they just keep putting out the same model with like another variant.
Yep.
And I think it loses a lot of people. Like I got to buy another Valkyrie to get that particular
But
decker sheet.
they also sell to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think that's been a successful model, but to me, but they're also $30 models, not
I think it
$200
varies.
models, right?
But as I say, if they obviously think there's a market for it.
Yeah, but I think that's a great way to appeal to.
Yeah.
Like, all you got to do is look at that and say, "Oh, I'm in love with that particular scheme," and it's in the box. Yeah,
it's a good size. Got some photo etch. It must be line.
It's a way to really appeal to that all the different things that people like about that one particular airplane, and you've already spent the time developing the molds and whatnot.
I agree. Okay, next up is part of I call this their wargaming series. So 1/72 scale. This is a whole gladiator arena with
super weird.
But you know what? It's pretty cool. Look at this laser cut. The arena is MDF laser cut. It's got a cage for the lions, of course. You got to have a lion. It's got like a stadium seating. Like it's a nice looking kit. So you get 24 gladiators, a 4-horse chariot, 35 legionnaires to keep the gladiators in line, I guess, and wild beasts, 4 lions and 2 bears.
Is this particularly made for for some kind of gaming thing?
I think it could be. It's certainly, they seem to do a lot of these.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of neat. I love this. But like the new stuff now is the MDF laser cut wood stuff, right? They didn't have that before. But yeah, no, I could see for the wargaming guy, and it's pretty cool. Like the paint up ones by the folks at Gallery look pretty cool, and yeah, you could definitely use this for wargaming. So yeah, so what did I say? Yeah, they had lions and bears, but where's the tigers? So therefore, you can say lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, sorry, I had to say that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's a bit of an like it seems to me like and I like far out there stuff, right?
Well, they've done this stuff before. When I was a kid, I had the Enzio Monastery battle set, and it came with like a couple of tanks, an anti-tank gun, a bunch of figures, and at the time it was a plastic base you could paint up, and so
yeah. But that strikes me as like kind of fitting inside like generally, but certainly in the 70s and 80s, right? Like World War II modeling was like the main, probably the mainstay subject.
People are into the wargaming, it's a unique point in history. So and these are nice looking, in that scale. So it's kind of cool. Okay, next up we have a transport truck, 59 euros, the Iveco Highway 480, 124 scale, upgraded molds, chrome adhesive parts, 59 euros. Very nice looking big rig. A couple of standard decal schemes with all the license plates from the EU.
Cool.
Lots of transparent part masks, of course, to help with the painting. You get mesh, some fine mesh with a fun grill. That's kind of cool. Yeah. And of course your rubber tires. Yeah, looks pretty nice if you're a truck guy. I think you'll be all set. Yeah. I can't speak more to it, I'm afraid, except it looks very attractive. I don't think the trailer comes with it. Normally in these they don't. So just be aware of that. Yeah, because you can buy your own. Yeah, you buy a separate trailer, you can make it whatever you want, right?
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. So next up, an M60A3 main battle tank in 1/35 scale. So this was a tank introduced in the 60s by the United States Army. It was, basically it was the main battle tank used by the U.S. Army during the Cold War years. And it wasn't replaced until really the M1 Abrams came out. So nice looking.
This is the patent, correct?
No, the M48 was the patent.
Okay, and the patent was earlier. That was more
slightly
50s,
yeah, exactly.
40s, 50s.
Yeah. So this one here, but it's been used all over the years. So there's 5 versions. You've got it looks like an Italian one, an Egyptian one, Republic of China Marine Corps. So this would be on the island. Yeah. Well, I'm having a brain fart. What's the island off that China doesn't think separated? Taiwan.
Oh, Taiwan.
Yeah. So when it says Republic, that's Taiwan. And then, of course, the 8th Infantry Division, 1982 U.S. Army. and the Royal Saudi Land Forces. So a whole bunch of different schemes and colors and nice looking decals. Again, Chrysler produced it until 1983. The main armor was a 105 millimeter M68 gun. It used a V12 turbo diesel engine. And yeah, it's deployed a lot of conflicts over the years. So again, looks like a fairly good kit.
Yeah,
Lincoln
I
Light
like the
tracks.
Reforger
Yeah,
2 scheme. Yeah, that's
yeah, and the
pretty.
Saudi one I like too. There's also mesh and thread to represent grills and cables in that kit. Moving on, we have the BMW M1 Pro car, 124 scale. So this was in the late 70s, early 80s.
Mhm.
It was used. This is that one that Nicky Lotto drove in a series over there in Group
Mhm.
5. Very attractive looking for that
Yeah, that's
era.
cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you're a car fan, not really more I can say about it. And then also they have a T-33A Shooting Star in 1/72nd scale. 21 euros. This was a subsonic two-seat jet trainer. So a lot of pilots in the 50s, this is what they trained on.
Mhm.
So there's 6 versions again. Looks like, what do we got? You got US, Italian, what else? Spain, maybe? The Luftwaffe, Spain's there. Yeah, whole bunch of NATO countries. So yeah,
Yeah.
pretty well, whatever. You probably find one that works for you. So,
Germany.
yep, Germany.
There's a German version.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, quite a few. Yeah,
Yeah,
quite a few nations
quite a
were.
few options. So,
Yeah.
and we have a T-33 fairly close to us that flies, the Red Knight,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in
out
here
of
in London.
the, yep, Jet Aircraft Museum. So, yeah, that's kind of neat to see that going up once in a while. Okay, moving on. So, yeah, that's all from a tower. We got a lot of stuff. This is going to be a
Yeah.
long episode, kids. I hope everyone's sitting comfortably.
Yeah.
Okay, next up is Bronco again. This is a new release in 72nd scale. I think Bronco did this in 48. This is the new
Yeah.
Chinese 5th or 6th generation fighter, the J-20. This is their version of the F-22.
Mhm.
Basically, it's a fairly large aircraft to begin with. So yeah, this is still a few unknowns about this. But basically, this was announced or released to the road in 2017.
Mhm.
Currently, 20 aircraft are undergoing combat training and evaluation. The PLAAF claims the aircraft's an air superiority fighter with precision strike capability. However, it's a very large aircraft, similar in size to the Sukhoi 24. The J-20 or Mighty M is manufactured by the Chengdu Aerospace Corporation and made its first flights in 2011. Not a lot of info, but they reckon it'll be about Mach 2, range of 6,000 kilometers. Engines, they reckon 33,000 pounds of thrust with reheat. 6 internal weapons bays, so again, similar to the F-22.
Wow.
And you can put some other hard points on as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a fairly large. I bet if you put this beside an F-22, yeah, it's much larger.
Yeah.
And they're still
Yeah.
testing, looking at
Huge.
some. Yeah, so they've got 8 prototypes and 20 are flying. And basically, this is going to become China's primary fighter.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, the only thing
Look
they're
out.
worried about is if it's going to work on their new carrier, because it may be a bit too
Yeah.
big for that. But again, it's a nice looking kit. So there is CAD drawings that were sent to the modeling news. So it's all we have right now.
Mhm.
But yeah, it looks good. So apparently they paid a lot of attention to the canopy and the exhaust nozzles. So
Mhm.
they've got a colored canopy, so a tinted color one with realistic inside details, and the tail nozzle with accurate details.
Cool.
Basically, three schemes. They pretty well look almost alike, except for the tail number.
Yeah, there it's just a low vis
Yeah,
kind of gray on gray,
low vis,
right?
but some decals and that. So yeah, that's looking nice. I always like seeing those. Those are kind of cool.
Yeah. And no pricing yet out on that.
No pricing, just the CADs. So
Yeah.
okay, next up, I got a nice email from Special Hobby. They've
Mhm.
announced a few things coming soon. First is the SB-2A4 Buccaneer U.S. Marines bomber.
Mhm.
This was designed by Brewster. It was going to be used exclusively from aircraft carriers. In the end, they just used it for training. The British used it, and they called it the Bermuda. But
Right.
again, it was a little bit early for its time, and
Mm-hmm.
but it did see some service, but again, mostly training and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and also the Dutch were supposed to acquire, but of course when they surrendered, that order was canceled. But there is a what if
Mm-hmm.
there, so that's kind of cool. Then we have the latest one of the Short Sutherland in 72nd scale. This is a big kit. This is the Mark III. This is the one that did a lot of U-boat killing. So again, some improvements, improved hull step, and was equipped with power-operated gun turrets. Very dangerous, and it was actually able to defend itself quite well against the Luftwaffe. So basically, some of the selections here, one of the crew managed to defend themselves against 8 attacking Ju-88. So these were night fighters, 2-engine night fighters, and they
Mm-hmm.
shot 3 of them down in the end, and they came home. And 3 British, which are Canadian and Australian squadrons, and 1 French airframe. If I didn't
Mm-hmm.
already have the airfix kit with the interior one, and I had room, because
You'd be all over this, eh?
my grandfather worked on these in Burma. I'm not sure if the
Ah,
Mark
okay.
IIs or the Mark IIIs, but yeah, he was in Burma, and they
Wow.
were used as long-range transport and reconnaissance. This one was in the Atlantic,
Yeah.
but very cool. Next up is the Rajani RE 2000 fighter in 1/48 scale.
Mm-hmm.
It served quite distinctively, 3 eye-catching markings, with of course the Italian, the famous model, camouflage model. Also, Special Hobbies will also offer you resin sets and pre-cut masks. And that's the next item, and they talk about the masks.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've got a bunch of new resin kits, resin sets. I'm not going to go through them all because they have a ton. So they got the Panzer 38 engine set. They've got a very nice, this one I do want to point out,
Ooh, yeah.
the Recon Lightning conversion set. So this allows you to convert your Tamiya 1/48 scale Lightning, which a lot of people have, into a fully Recon one.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, and it served with the Free French Air Force and the U.S. Air Force. That looks very nice if you want to convert that. 1/48 F104 electronics, and of course different wheels and all that stuff. Absolutely, so much I don't want to cover it all, but that's all from Special
Yeah.
Hobby, and
They've got
you
quite
can
a
check
bit.
that. Oh yeah, like there's tons. Wait, we got more. Okay, this one I've been waiting for a while. So this is Hong Kong Models. They, as you know, they produce the 1/32nd scale Lancaster.
Yep.
And when they were showing that at the show, Wingnut Wings announced they were going to do one, which took some of the thunder out. But one
Mm-hmm.
of the things Hong Kong Models talked about was, oh, maybe we'll do just a nose section for those people like myself. I'm raising my hand, who don't have room for a 32nd scale Lancaster. So this is just the nose section. And they say here, if you're one of the modelers who want the 32nd scale Lancaster, but don't have the space or the cash, yes, and yes, well, you can now get the nose kit released as a single kit with all the drama, but a third of the space.
That's a great idea. This is a great idea.
This
Yeah.
I wish more of them would do that. Now, you know what I like about
Yeah.
this as well is, like they did on their first version of their kit, it gives
Yeah.
you the option. You get a bonus clear starboard side of the fuselage
Uh-huh.
included. So you can display this with one side being clear. So once you put stuff together, you don't hide it all. But like a
Yeah.
mounting
Yeah.
trailer, yeah, it's 171 parts, and it's still a big kit, 21 centimeters by 12 by 6. So, sorry, 218 millimeters by 12 millimeters by
Yeah.
68. So it's still a pretty big kit. Um,
Yeah.
but you know what? Because that's what people are going to spend most of the time on, is the cockpit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's going to be cool. So again, when they built the regular kit, they had the port side at the front end in a clear fuselage, so you could, like,
Mm-hmm.
again, display all the stuff you could see. So yeah, this is going to be this one at some point. If I find it one someday, it's probably,
Yeah.
I take no responsibility.
Well, good on them. Like they obviously took a long time to get that kit out and had a lot of hiccups along the way with the kind of the marketing and the release. But if they can, hopefully they can make good on this and people will be happy with it. And it might be the thing because the problem with those high end $500 kits is that not many people are going to get them, right?
Well, and the
And
people that do, you need a lot of
yeah.
space.
Yeah, how
And
many are just going to go on the shelf,
well,
right?
this is what we've talked about before. How many end up in the
Yeah,
stash? Yeah, and like
something smaller is
I'm
manageable.
sensible enough now. It's great, but yeah, I just know if I had something like the full size one, it wouldn't get built. I have no room. But
Yeah.
this and some very good famous Lancasters nose arts.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, including Q for Queenie from number 83 Squadron. S for Sugar is the oldest surviving Lancaster.
Mm-hmm.
And then what else we got here? Yeah, so some of them are like a very famous one here is they actually quoted Goering in their nose art. Goering once said, Reich Marshal Goering, who was the head of the Luftwaffe, said, "No enemy plane will fly over the Reich." Yeah, that got changed pretty damn quick. So some very cool thing. Some photo etch for seatbelts. Again, extra bonus clear starboard side of the fuselage. Includes a mounting trailer, so you don't have to worry. It's like a cradle, so that looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah, it's
again, in
great.
the mounting trailer was when they built them. That's how they did it. They would build it in sections and assemble it all together.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that one I can see on that would be nice list one day. We're almost through these. Big plane kit. So this is a manufacturer. I think they're out of the Ukraine. I saw them on my Facebook feed. They're announcing a 1/72nd scale Boeing 737-800 with Qantas markings. What's interesting
Mm-hmm.
is they do a lot of different airlines over the years. So nice looking, and there's a large group of people that build just airliners,
Yeah,
and some
that's kind of a
amazing
neat
stuff.
little niche.
Yeah. Now this is going to be a big kit, but the other thing that was interesting is on their Facebook page when they were talking about this, they also
Mm-hmm.
had a picture of a 747, and they said just wait. So I think they're going to be building a
Mm-hmm.
Qantas 747 fairly soon, and
Well, that's
that's the
cool.
true queen of the sky. So I just thought again, I'd give a shout out to these guys. We like hearing from smaller manufacturers and that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So I linked that one to the Hanet site.
I like it.
Okay, and almost last but not least, this is another company I've heard about before. They're out of the UK, and they're called Res Kits, and they do a lot of resin stuff and very good resin stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They've released an absolute ton, and I mean ton, of new items. So again, I'm not going to go through these all, but they've got for your 124 scale Mosquito, they got a wheel set.
Mm-hmm.
For your 135th scale Huey, UH1D, a whole bunch of different sets for that.
Yeah.
Modern
Wow.
aircraft, wheels and weapons, and you name it. Then they've got these upgrade sets. So like for the Revell kits, 132nd, upgrade nozzles for that, the Tornado, the F-104 Starfighters we were talking about,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
for all the big stuff. So an absolute gorgeous, and again, they have some full pictures, but just the one thing that struck me is look at the detail on some of like the Huey main rotor
Oh,
assembly.
that's
You know,
unbelievable.
yeah,
That's
that's something
amazing.
you want because the rotor
Yeah.
just it's right sits there front and center, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This would
Or
really enhance your build. And like
yeah,
look, the pricing is
it's not bad. Like I'm looking
yeah.
for the MH-60L, which is the modern U.S. helicopter, 135th, the main
Mm-hmm.
rotor assembly. That's $32, but look at the detail there.
Yeah, even the Huey 1D,
Yeah,
the main rotor kit is I see $13.20, and I'm assuming that's
that's
American
U.S.
dollars.
Yeah, that'll be U.S.
That's not terribly pricey
No,
to,
and if you wanna detail it up, if you're really into it,
yeah,
like I said, there's people that really they want to make sure the wheels are accurate. So you've got the resin wheels
yeah.
for various different things, and like I said, some absolute gorgeous stuff. Then they got some ordnance, JU bombs. Yeah, just an absolute ton of different things. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely check it out. As I said, I can't go through all of them, but they've got quite a bit here. And especially if you're building large kits of the newer
Yeah,
stuff, these guys definitely might be worth a try.
yeah,
And yeah, I've heard of them before. I haven't heard bad things about them. So, and again, the detail of what I see on the CAD matches what we see on the resin.
yeah.
I think that'll be an awesome thing.
Well,
So,
hopefully we hear more from them as
yeah,
time goes by.
exactly. So that was see ton of new items.
Yeah,
Absolute ton.
amazing.
People say the hobby's dying. They don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
Okay, hottest scale mates. We'll go through this briefly. So again, the Mung Fokker DR1 triplanes on top.
yeah, that's right.
Marder 1 tank destroyer. We talked about that. The Ryefield model Sherman is on there. The Spitfire story from Edouard, the limited edition, the dual combo from Edouard,
Mm-hmm.
one 148 scale. I need another 148 Spitfire, like I need a hole in my head. But again, if I see a good deal on that.
Uh-huh.
Let's see, Rodin's announcing a 1 to 144th B36 Peacemaker. That's
Wow.
still going to be a monster in that scale.
Yeah.
So yeah, all the normal stuff that's been fairly recent. Again, the Hobby Boss. Oh, the Hobby Boss Huey. That's 1 to 18th. That's similar to their Harrier. That's going to be a big one. A new
Oh my
tool
goodness.
announcement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's well. They built the Harrier too, the AV8. One of the guys
yes.
in our club built one, and it's a monster kit.
It's almost too big. That
Yeah, I
get
know.
you're getting out of the. I don't know if it's just because we came up with these scales that they're ingrained in our heads, but they
I
don't.
don't know.
Wow. Yeah.
One of the things
It's
we are going to have a chat about is scale sometime. I did get an email from someone wanting a bit more information. I just got to collect the information together. It's quite
yeah.
fascinating, the
Yeah.
history
The
of
history
scale.
of of how the scales developed
Hmm
is quite interesting.
hmm I'm just going to point out one more from a company called Dubernard, an
Hmm.
F4 Phantom drag chute.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
it's a detail set that's fully deployed, and you stick it out the back end.
Oh,
Uh,
that's kind of neat. Like
yeah,
it's
kind
coming
of
in for a
different.
landing. Yeah.
Yeah, one of those things. So anyway, that's all what's new at ScaleMates. So yeah, that's all the news that's fit to print. Okay, so let's just get right to what's happening. What's happening at Goodman Models, my friend?
Well, you know what? We're just rolling along quite steadily. So my next shipping date is Friday, July 24th,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that's coming up this week. And prizes are going out. I've got a few orders on their way out the door, and I'm fully stocked with sets and singles and factory seconds and super stands, all ready to help you with your modeling
And
projects.
all coronavirus free.
Yes, that's right.
Exactly. No,
Knock
and
on
again,
wood.
we continue to hear good things about them. So
Yeah.
it's one of those ones, especially once you get it in your hand, you'll go, "What the hell did I do without it?" So,
Oh,
and
I've
what's
been using them myself a ton
oh,
recently on
they're
my
a staple
couple
on my
builds.
bench. Yep, they're a
Yeah.
staple on my bench. Like I said, whenever I'm doing assembly and that, they are there. So where can one get these fine quality products?
Well, please have a look at goodmanmodels.com. That's where you can order them directly from me. And they're also carried by a few excellent retailers out there, flexifile.com, Wheels and Wings in Toronto, Section 8 in Buffalo. Boy, have I forgotten anybody?
A couple of guys in Australia.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Anybody in that neck of the woods, check out SJS Hobbies, which is an eBay shop, and also at it's
Yes.
wargameminiatures.com.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
They've
and
got
which
some
has they
flex
have a
as well.
very comprehensive online catalog of all the latest goodies. So
They
check
got a
them out.
lot of goodies there.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's in Australia. That's the only thing. It's a long way away, but our colleagues at On the Bench have mentioned them a few times. So
yeah, but
definitely.
very well stocked and for modeling and for the gaming side. But they have tons of
Hmm
great model products. They're really up to date. So
Cool.
yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we're going to get right on to our interview. And we did this one a little while ago, but it'll be worth
Yeah.
the wait.
Yes.
Why don't you do the introductions, Anthony?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So let me just preface this. This was quite interesting. So everyone's heard of Arma Hobbies,
Yes.
right? They came out with a couple really excellent kits. People have been raving about them for a long time. I'm thinking of
The Hurricane,
the Hurricane, and then they came out with the not Bearcat,
the Wildcat.
Wildcat, thank you. And those kits were super well received. So I had a chance to catch up with Wojtek.
Hmm
Him and his partner Marcin run this out of Poland, and they were like super hardcore modelers. They just were, doing it, and they decided to take a crack at it. Now, I would like to preface this that Wojtek's native language is Polish, so he had to dig deep with his English skills to meet up with me, and I
hmm
appreciate that on his part. So
And
you
his
yeah.
English is far better than our Polish. So
Exactly. But please be patient listening to him. He's got some very interesting things to say about
yeah.
how they design models, what they thought the modeler's experience should be. And it all makes me want to build a Hurricane because the
Oh,
kits just
it's a
sound like
beautiful
they were
kit.
meant
Yeah.
to be built.
Well,
Um,
these have come in and like yeah, people have been building them locally and
yeah.
people are raving about them.
Yeah, so have a good listen, and just be patient with kind of as we work our way through it. And another thing we should mention was that he is talking about in this interview was a little while ago, but he was talking about an upcoming release, and I think this is all sort of at the very beginning of the COVID pandemic,
Hmm.
and we were talking about an upcoming release, and it's probably out of date by now. So he wanted to mention that the release of the kit that we're speaking about was kind of planned for the summer, which is sort of now, and it was probably more likely going to be shifted to the winter time. And he didn't want any customer confusion or
Yep.
disappointment around that. So be patient, it's on its way, and I'm sure it will be spectacular.
Oh, I'm sure it will be. I'm looking forward to it myself. Okay, here we go.
I see nothing, but I can hear.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. We're just recording now, and then, like I said, Stuart.
Yes. Antony nagrywa rozmowę. So
Yeah.
in Polish, it means that you are recording.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and do our intro. Okay. Welcome to the interview portion of our show. I'm all on my lonesome. And Stuart is at his Krav Maga class, and I'm talking with a really interesting guest. We've been seeing a lot of Arma hobbies pop up when we've been discussing new releases, and I'm really excited to have Wojtek Bulhar here with me today. Wojtek started working in the modeling industry around 1998. He was completing his doctoral studies in biology, but he was also working at Mirage Hobby, and they were the largest Polish plastic kit manufacturer at the time. He was editing Model Hobby magazine, which was published by Mirage. He was also working in international sales and researching for new kits. His first release that he worked on was the M3 Lee in 72nd scale, and he says that was great fun working on that tank project. He's since moved on, and with his current business partner, Marcin, he has also been involved with the preparation for the latest 48 scale F4F Wildcat release. He also had some other ventures in modeling. He became fascinated with figurines and started his own resin company, Aldebertus Miniatures, in 2005. And although that was not a huge success, although I'm sure many modelers probably recognize that name, he shifted his focus to airplane accessories with the brand Attack Squadron. And that's another name that probably a lot of modelers are familiar with. And it got much better sales, and in November 2013, it changed into Arma Hobby. And they design and manufacture kits in Poland. So I want to welcome you to the show, Wojtek. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Excellent. So I know everyone right now is at home because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I know you're still working remotely at the office.
Yes, we are separate. Everybody works in different place.
Yep, same here. Same here. I'm stuck at home right now. So let's talk a little bit about the history of Arma Hobbies. How did you tell us how you started that company?
That's a very funny history. In June 214, I think.
Yep.
14, 13. Marcin, my partner, designed a kit of Kamax helicopter.
Okay.
And we started taking orders as a company Adalbertus. And we got so many orders, so we cannot produce enough kits in short time.
Yeah.
So my family came for vacation, and in my living room, we placed the big plastic foil usually used when you're painting walls,
Yeah.
and set the casting equipment with the help of Michał, the third of our company.
Wow.
And we started casting, selecting, packing, and it took about 2 months to finish orders.
Wow.
So it encouraged us to start company, and we find a place, did the legal work, and started in November.
No kidding, eh? So you went from.
And,
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, it was. It is the start of Arma hobby.
Wow. So you went from that was a resin kit that you were making.
Yes, it was resin kit.
And how did
but it was designed in 3D by Marcin, and it was 3D printed.
Okay.
It was quite new technology at that time. At this moment, it is very popular. You have tens of companies doing it. But we were one of the first in the world to use that technology.
Yeah, 'cause that's going
it
back.
was great fun, because you can have exotic subject kit that
Yes.
would be buildable and would have a good detail.
Yes, absolutely.
So then came the Berket fighter, Grumman Berket.
Yes.
And we got a medal from a Model Fan magazine for this kit. It was quite surprising, but this time there was so many medals in different categories, and also in resin kits, so we got one. And I think we made 2 sophisticated kits. So
now, was that? Can I ask you about the Bearcat? Was that you produced a kit of it and also entered it into the model show?
I'm sorry. Could repeat, please?
No problem. You were mentioning the Bearcat. That was a model kit?
Yes, it was a full resin kit of fighter plane.
Okay.
And it was so sophisticated. It was made completely different approach. So there were no fuselage halves, but it was casted in sections.
Okay.
So you can assemble it in many parts just on click.
Oh, wow.
There is on YouTube one short movie about one Polish modeler shows how he assembled the mid fuselage of this kit and interior. But I think at this time it was too sophisticated. It was not good for modelers because it was too different than the usual way of building models. And I think what should do a modeling company is not to make any troubles, any problems, and any hard to understand things with models.
Yep.
So you should not surprise modelers, not get them disoriented.
For sure, yeah.
But kit was building well, and I saw many on the internet build kits.
Good.
And I think it was a success, but it started our way to understand how to make modelers friendly kit. What should be designed, and I think in many cases it is different approach modelers think. It is not a lot of details, not a lot of parts, but making sure that nothing will stop modeler in the building process.
Okay, interesting.
So if modelers start kits, it is very likely that it will be finished, for example, in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I'm talking about 1 to 72nd fighter. If it is a big bomber of a bigger scale, you cannot build it as fast.
Yes.
Maybe if you work full time on modeling. But in 70 seconds, it should be easy to build and
absolutely.
not make any troubles. And first thing is to have a good fit. And then comes surface details, because if you have not good fit, you need to use putty, you need to sand, and most modelers cannot restore the surface scribing themselves.
Yes.
So it should fit perfectly, and it was not that easy.
That's very challenging, isn't it? When we're always struggling with the fit of the kits, I think, as a builder.
Yes, I think last our kits, the people tell that they build easily, and one reviewer wrote that he spent on the Yak fighter half a time he spent on building a 72nd scale fighter.
Wow, so that's excellent.
It is what we wanted to have with kit.
Oh, very good. Now the Yak fighter,
Yes.
you mentioned to me that you had entered that one into I'm sorry, a contest, right? Was that one of your earlier releases, the Yak fighter?
I'm not sure I understood.
Sorry.
Are you talking about contest?
Yeah, you mentioned the Yak. Sorry, I'm just looking through my notes here. We were talking about
probably you are talking about the Model Fan medal.
Yes.
So the Model Fan is the main German language modeling magazine. And during the toy fair in Nuremberg, they usually give medals to a few chosen kids. And we got in resin for Berket fighter and then for biplane Grumman fighter 2 medals for resin. But this year we got one for regular plastic kit Yak 1B. And it is a great success, a great achievement, I think, because only the best companies in the world got the medals.
Excellent.
So we are very happy. We are very happy, and hopefully in future we get another one for other kids.
Well, yes, absolutely.
But we first. In thinking, first is to solve modelers' problems and make model building as much satisfying as possible.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about your first plastic kit, the TS11 Iskra, that you released in November 2015.
Yes, Iskra is a very important Polish constructed, manufactured airplane. It is in service over 50 years.
Wow.
And most of Polish, I think all Polish military pilots fly not on Iskra. And it was a kind of joke in modeling when Polish modelers complained that the company released a wrong type of kit. They always talk that if it would be Iskra, I would buy it. So we thought that maybe it would be a good joke for start to release Iskra. And we made tooling in China. And few experience. The first is that the Chinese mold manufacturer is working very hard. and is very open to any complaints from a company that ordered tools. But what was problem was distance, and sometimes we cannot understand because we are not the same culture.
Yes.
Some information we sent were very easily understandable for us, but not for them. And we got not feedback about troubles our design mates to tool manufacturer. I think it is very important when you're designing kits is to know technology well. The toolmaker can do many things, but sometimes you need just to change design to help him to do it. Yep. And then we wanted to make a Polish pre-war fighter P-7A that has very delicate corrugated surface of wings. And we cannot get good enough detail from China. I think we cannot communicate well. So I'm talking bad about those tool makers because they work really hard and are very professional. It was mainly problem that modelers are designing kit and do not know well technology and want from toolmaker to make miracles.
Yes, well, I think that's the difference, right, between the designer and then the model maker. It's two different ways of thinking.
We not decided to invest in next tooling in China and found a small tooling workshop near Warsaw, and we learned small. I mean that they have about 30 workers. So for Chinese it is very small. For Polish companies it is just tooling workshop like many.
Yeah.
And we learned with them how to design models.
Wow.
And, Marcin came to the engineer, talk with him, shows what we want, got feedback how it should be designed to be possible. I think with Hurricane or Yak we got quality we are looking for.
Excellent. Now that did you mention the Hurricane? That is a very popular release in the Western world, and so it sounds like a lot of people bought that kit and built it. Tell us a little bit about the process for researching and designing the Hurricane.
We have in our approach what we see that the main problem with research is that there is not national standard for documentation for particular airplane. The knowledge is dispersed. Even if you have a world-class expert on Hurricane or other kit, he cannot know everything that is needed to make a good kit. It is that when you release those kits and people just look at the spruce, many modelers find something that was omitted because they have focus on this part of kit, and experts probably was looking on the other part of kit. So it is very hard to filter the knowledge that is in books in internet, and you never would be sure that you found everything. What is our advantage is that Martin is obsessive about project. So he is
That's good.
he's drilling this knowledge, is sorting to the dead end of internet to find, looking at books, asking people, and he's very good in taking shapes.
Okay.
So we not yet tried with scanning real airplanes, but if you have enough photos, and you
it's
know
the same
how
thing.
the photos distort.
Yes.
And,
Not the same.
after months of work, you can find correct shape.
Wow.
And also looking at other companies' kits, we see that the design is probably the most difficult and most costly part of modeling projects. So some companies just go through the shortcuts.
Oh, really?
Especially in small scale, and I not blame them. I understand that there are real problems. It is not a kind of hobby that you can prepare design for years. You need to have it ready for sale on time.
Yes, quickly.
So I think maybe we have a good balance with this obsessive looking for documentation.
Yeah, well, it seems that.
And another thing is that if there is a quite popular kit, people are interested in, so it rises bar a lot. If there is not so popular kit, probably anything you release, people will be happy.
That's true. That's true. People just want to see something in a kit form that they can build. But I mean, so far the reception of your kits has been very good, and people are really enjoying them.
So I am happy to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I know Stuart wanted me to ask you, do you have any plans to release a 48th scale Hurricane?
Good things came to people who wait.
Okay, all right.
And but I am prepared for this podcast especially, and
Yes.
it will be only place I will tell to people that this year that will be Hurricane 48 scale from Arma Hobby released.
Oh, wonderful. Wow.
First will be Mark IIc version, and we expect it in the summer. If pandemic close shortly, it is 100% sure. If not close shortly, it is sure, but not 100%.
Yeah, I think a lot of things might be postponed, just with the changing world that we're living in right now with the pandemic. So we'll see what happens. Can you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, I am waiting what you are talking.
Yeah, of course. Did you have any other projects that you're working on for Arma Hobby that you can tell us about?
We have many projects, but I cannot tell, and I will explain why. So we are focused on the modeler's satisfaction.
Yep.
And we would not like to announce something we have not in our hands.
Of course, yeah, I understand.
Sometimes we need to change which kit will be released first.
Yes.
You can see by the catalog numbers of Wildcat Fighter and Hurricane 2C that Hurricane was planned after Wildcat, but we need to change it. The most important factor was that Hurricane was one mold kit and the Wildcat is two mold kit. So it was easier before Christmas to push the Hurricane.
Interesting.
And
so you have to be flexible on what you're going to be able to do.
Yes, and we are working on several projects at this moment. And our policy is to announce what would really happen. And with 48 scale Hurricane, maybe it is not following strictly our policy, but I thought that maybe first time I am talking to modelers myself, so at your podcast, it would be good to make something special, and it is special for you.
Wonderful. We thank you very much for that. We'll make a lot of modelers very happy, I think. Wonderful. So we talked a little bit about what is happening in Poland and the European modelers community. Could you tell us a little bit about your community and the model builders that you know in Poland and maybe some of the other countries in Europe and what's happening?
It is this question is so open, so wide.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
hard to answer.
Well,
generally, in Poland, the modeling as a hobby, as a community of people, and as the place where the companies start and grow, it is at this moment developing very well. So we have some good manufacturers of accessories, and we have a few companies making plastic kits, and I think it will develop maybe even better during this pandemic time, because we have quite a big market and can do it despite of problems. I think that companies that are working more globally, for example, having tooling and even making parts in China would have problems when the international traffic is gets slower.
Yeah, I think so.
But generally in Poland, so many model clubs, so many competitions, YouTube channels. Last years, I think it is developing very well. So many good modelers.
Yes.
It is good time for modeling in Poland at this moment.
I think so. It seems that there's lots of cool model news and lots of contest photos coming from the European scene right now, and there's a lot of big shows. Have you been to some of the bigger model shows?
Last time not, but I could recommend maybe 3 in Central Europe. This year they will be closed.
Yes.
But it is competition in Bytom in Poland cancelled. It is in the city of Bytom in southern Poland. Very good communication to Czech Republic, Austria, Hungary, and of course to the Poland.
Yes.
Second, very good is in Warsaw, is in Bavaria. And the third, probably the most important still, is Moson in Hungary.
Oh, wow.
And it looks that people from Western countries go to those competition, as well as from post-Soviet countries. And it is the good place for meeting for modelers. Many good things happens here. Of course, you have good shows in Western Europe.
Yes.
And before pandemic, the communication was very well, and Polish modelers came to all those events and have a great fun. So many friendships. I talk with people, see what they post on social media, and see that it was working very well. Hopefully, it will recover next year.
Yeah, I hope so too. As far as things to do at home, maybe we'll see lots of people finishing their model kits now that people seem to have more time at home when they're on lockdown.
A very funny joke was on Polish internet. One guy asked, "Do you have enough models for staying home?" And the answer was, "You probably don't understand this hobby."
Yeah, exactly. I know. I'm not
So
at a loss.
I have enough. I sold 75% of my kits and still have enough until my death.
Me too.
And that's funny. Many of them are tanks, but our company is making airplanes.
Well, I think everyone. I haven't met I meet most modelers and people in the business seem to like a little bit of everything, and maybe that's a good information for you about about how to design kits too, to see different subjects.
I think that we need to focus on airplanes.
Yes.
Sometimes there is maybe temptation to do something special. For example, Marcin is thinking about Casablanca class carrier.
Wow. Ship.
Ship, yes. Our Wildcat new release was airplane for those carriers. And but we need to focus on airplanes, and it is something we understand well, and we learned how to design. In the future, maybe we will look about other subjects, but it is talking about future possibilities. I don't know. But I'm building tank kits because it is great relief after making hard research for airplane.
I bet. Yeah,
and
of course.
You work on airplane, you like a lot, but when you came home, maybe tank that is not so demanding.
Yeah, definitely.
You can build it out of the box.
Yeah.
Building out of the box is not. You start it out of the box, and after a few months, you realize you completely rebuild and not so many plastic parts from original kits.
Yeah. I have that problem every time. Well, I wanted. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
At this moment, I have so big project modeling that I'm working about 2 years, I think. It is radio-controlled Tamiya Panther tank.
1 to 16.
Yes, and I am at the stage of soldering all other details.
Oh my goodness!
And have problem. Because I cannot open box and sort of the parts because of my children. And it's not small kit you can make on the small table. You need a lot of space.
I bet.
And so because that I started another tank.
Of course. Yep.
That is, I think maybe it would be surprised, but it is an M3 tank from Mini Art.
Really?
I love this tank since my work with Mirage Hobby.
Yep.
And when I opened the box, so many parts, intimidating.
So was it a lot different than the one that?
It came very well.
Oh, good.
And
Very good.
I have diorama base almost ready. Everything not painted because I need to make photos for my blog. And hopefully I could finish before summer. So for me, it sounds very well.
Very good.
It is Soviet version from the Kursk battle.
Okay. What I was going to ask you about the it was the first project you going back to Mirage Hobbies was the Lee.
Yes, the same.
The same tank. So how did you find the remembering back to the project you worked on and then building the one from a different model maker? How was that experience? Very different.
Great respect to designer.
Yes.
Yes. So many details I didn't know were in this tank. Wow. All is included. The very little complaint is about the hull fit. Because it is built from so many parts.
Okay.
Different versions, you need to take care. And if you do it with care, then it goes well.
Nice. Oh, very good. That's very interesting.
For me, it is maybe too many parts. I know that Tacom has one kit, so maybe I will try it next.
Yeah.
But I really like Mini Art Kit, and I need to show my great respect to designer.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah, they're again another very popular manufacturer making a lot of great kits. That's cool. So, where would you like to see Arma Hobby go in the next 5 to 10 years? What do you think will happen, and how will you grow?
Probably we will have so many popular fighters or maybe bombers, Second World War, and start with jets.
Oh wow, interesting. Have you done any bomber kits?
Excuse me?
Sorry, have you designed any bomber kits yet?
Not yet.
Ah, okay. So something on the future. And I know that you...
We have an idea to make two engine bomber, but two companies have stolen our idea. So
I see.
I not complain. I think it is just way this hobby companies develop. So, so many kits of the same subject appear because many companies try to do it. At this moment, we should not maybe go on the subject other company just released. So two very, very good two engine Allied bombers, Second World War came out of sight at this moment for us. Maybe we return after a few years.
Yeah, choose something different.
I think what is Also important. I think many companies in Central Europe think about that they just need to reserve a particular subject for them. But in the modeling industry, it is impossible that you will be the only manufacturer of Messerschmitt or Spitfire.
It'd have to be pretty rare, right? It'd have to be a very rare subject.
Yes, but at this moment we should focus on a popular subject because they are much more demanded by modelers. Some people tell, why did you not one exotic kits I like a lot? I could answer that we will not release kit. Probably I would like a lot. We need to release kits that many modelers want.
Yeah. How do you know? How do you know which are the popular fighters to make the design of?
I don't know. We are talking with Marcin every day about models, modeling industry, business, versions of airplanes. And after days, weeks of talking, we just realize which one should be. And sometimes we have a good pick, sometimes maybe not so good, but at the start we chosen the Polish exotic because it was less risky for us.
Yes, I see.
At this moment, we just need to try a popular subject. And I think there is, because manufacturing models is not about a subject. It is not about amount of detail. It is about modelers' needs.
Yes.
And some modelers need sophisticated kits. Some need just easy build. And we need to find what is most needed in particular subjects at this moment. So if there is a very sophisticated kit, maybe market needs something just easy build. Maybe not all versions, but the most popular. You can see it when you are looking at the Messerschmitt's BF109G from Edward and from Tamiya.
Yes.
Edward has probably all versions possible.
Yes.
And Tamiya just picked one. And both kits have a lot of fans among modelers. And because both companies address real needs of people, it is why they buy it. And thinking about kit we would produce, we need to find what is needed at this moment, and also what we can do. We probably cannot do at this moment for engine bomber. It is too big project, for small.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that makes sense. So far, you've been around for about 5 years or so, and your name is getting out there, and people are really enjoying the kits that you're making. So that's it seems to be working for you for sure. That's great.
No, I thought at this moment that probably I am thinking so smart, but I am just a newcomer.
Well, I guess everybody starts somewhere, right? That's very good.
What we learned is to respect a designer and manufacturer. Sometimes modelers complain, and that's okay. They need to complain. It is easier to hear if somebody complains loudly. But also manufacturers have a great challenges, and we should respect competition. Competition is good.
Yes.
Good for modelers. It's
Absolutely.
good for modelers.
Yeah. Well, that's quite wonderful. What do you think is going to be happening with the way that you or can you guess about any changes in the way that the models are made in the near future? Plastic.
I think that the change just happened. If you see models that were manufactured in 80s or 90s.
Yes.
Modelers needed resin and photo etch accessories to make them at the quality level they wanted. But at this moment, plastic kits offer a lot of details. The challenge for modeler is not detail, is how to paint it well.
Yes.
And what I told about the fit of parts is the first, and then is the surface detail.
Yes.
It is thinking about current need to have model well, easy to paint using modern weathering techniques.
Yeah.
And I think that the main change in modeling happens about 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, and it was change between the world of Francois Verlinden and the world of the big Jimenez.
Yes. Yeah, two big names that have really changed everyone's view of model kit building for sure. Yeah. Well, that's very interesting.
And at this moment, I think it will be a gradual exchange of models in the ranges of companies from approach of old years and new approach.
Yeah.
And I think it happens. And I cannot guess what will be next step. Maybe maybe it is just starting, but maybe it is not so clear, visible at this moment. It is much easier to tell it after it happened.
Yeah, of course. Yes, absolutely.
I think that generally modeling is a hobby of old men, of people between 30 and 60, and they usually not change preferences so quickly, and they decide, and they know what they want and have resources to have a hobby. So I think that it will stabilize market.
Yeah.
That we should maybe follow what is new problem that will emerge in following years. The past problem is fit and surface detail, and generality. And probably what will change, that will be much less need for photo etch, maybe for resin too. And the accessories available will be much better. You see printed, photo etched, or I just need to advertise the Polish company Yahoo with the control panels that I think probably the only accessory needed to improve plastic kit in following years.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of improvements in the detail.
And have you used every time Yahoo control panels, instrument panels?
I've seen them, but I haven't used one yet.
I think it would be good you try. They are for airplanes, also started for tanks.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
All combat vehicles, and I think they are best on the market at this moment, but the competition is very high. I think that Edward not give a field for competitors easily and have a big range.
And those are.
I think that less photo etched will be needed in following years.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't know how it will develop. But the 3D printing is available for many just regular modelers at this moment.
Yeah.
So maybe there will be a lot of files available for print. I don't know. Maybe it will be the part of modeling, but plastic kits, regular plastic kits, just built up out of the box will be the mainstream of this hobby. I think for 20 years for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So I want to ask you about the instrument panels. Are they made by Eduard?
In our kits?
What's the company that you were recommending that makes the instrument panels?
Yahoo. YAHU.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm going to add a link for our listeners. Oh, yeah, those are nice.
They are so inexpensive. It is that €2.50 one, ready just to put to the kids. This looks perfect. It is all silk printed with highest quality. All details of controls, all buttons on the panel, all is very well done.
Wonderful. These are beautiful.
I recommend them to all modelers. That in our internet shop you can buy their products for Arma Hobby Kits.
Oh, excellent. Of course, they fit perfectly.
Maybe somebody could take a look shortly, and they sell very well. We have also Eduard accessories for our kids, and they also sell well. But Eduard is a really big player.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, those look really wonderful, and I see that they fit very well in the Arma Hobby model kits too. So we'll add a link for the listeners where they can get your kits at your online shop.
I will send you a link to Yahoo website.
Yeah, I've got it right here.
You have it?
Yes. Yeah.
You need to try. Just try one.
I will.
And if I complain, I think that the price is too low.
So good for the
price is very important because so many consumers think about quality looking at price, and if the price is low, they expect low quality. But in this case, the quality is top. It is highest, I think, possible at this moment of the market.
Wow, wonderful. Well, that's very interesting. Yeah, I guess pricing concerns are very important for manufacturers. Yeah, very interesting. And you told us about your current model projects. You mentioned your 1/16 scale RC tank.
Yes, the Panther tank.
The Panther, okay. And then
German tank, Second World War, that was used by Polish army.
Oh, interesting.
During Warsaw Uprising, the Home Army crushed two of them and formed armored platoon. They fought about 10 years against Germans, and also they liberated the concentration camp in Warsaw. And several hundred of Jewish people were released thanks they have a tank. If they have not tanks, probably they cannot attack Germans after heavy walls and bunkers.
Yeah.
So I think that probably it is most powerful tank ever used in Second World War by Polish army.
Yes,
So
that's very
I like
interesting. Yeah.
it.
Did you have to create your own markings for that then, for the Polish army?
I will paint them by
Yeah.
brush.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
As it was on real time, it was just factory new Panther, just painted the Panzergelb, I think the color name is.
Yes. Panzer Gray.
And
Sure.
they were on the way to the German Panzer Division as the replacement. And they missed the way and were captured by Polish army. And they
That's
just painted
interesting.
Polish insignia by brush.
Yeah.
So I think the decals probably would be
Yeah.
not as good as hand painted markings.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, that sounds like a fun project. I've never heard of that
Yes.
story, so that's kind of an interesting little fact from World War II. Very interesting. Well, that sounds like
Maybe we came to talking about modeling as kind of art that shows something more than machines. But I think looking at models are just a representation of machine. It's also very fun.
yeah.
You count all those rivets, or just are fascinated how does it work. So
Yes, definitely.
the designing model, I think what is important is to have all details that are specific for a particular version. So if it is for example, a reconnaissance airplane, it should have a camera well represented. Or if it is the high-flying airplane, probably you should have details that makes pressurized cockpit.
Yes.
If there are different versions of a particular airplane, the most important differences should be well rendered in kit.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
And not all details should be made in model because it is impossible. You cannot make 70-second kit that have all rivets.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It just has to look good. It has to look have the right shapes, right?
Yes. Shape is first. Shape, fit, detail.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's very interesting. I think Wojciech, that is a good spot to wrap up our interview, and I want to thank you very much for meeting with me. We had to coordinate some different times because you're in Poland and I'm in Canada. But we're looking forward to all the new releases that Arma Hobbies is going to be putting out. And again, thank you for talking with me today.
Also, thank you for an opportunity to speak to modelers. And sorry for too much details.
Oh, I think
hopefully it was a fun for listeners.
Yeah, well, it's a very interesting look into a model kit producer that's been doing some great kits, and I think people like to hear about the background part about how the model kits are designed and made. So again, from the Scale Model Podcast, thank you very much, and we hope you have a great day.
Thank you very much, and have a great day too.
Thank you.
All right, and we're back. As you heard, a great interview, a great team. I'm really looking forward to seeing what else they're going to have coming out.
Isn't it amazing that they focus so much on, having a really good build quality? And isn't that the key? Because, the other stuff, if you're missing details, you can add them. If you, if you want to modify it, you get an aftermarket set.
Mhm.
But if you have a hard time building it, it doesn't get built. It gets frustrating, and it gets stuck in the box and back on the shelf. So I think they've got the right focus. Make it
Well,
buildable.
yeah, I love that
Make it,
they have, you can buy decals, you can buy extra overtrees,
yes,
all sorts of
yeah.
things. And yeah,
These
they're
guys
very,
they seem to be really dedicated to the modeler and making that, because they know what the experience should be. And I like how, the second thing he really pointed out on was that the shape, it should look right, because again, you can add detail, you can cut your own panel line work, but if the thing's wrong and you can't build it because it's frustrating, well then
Mhm.
kind of sucks the joy out of the whole process, right?
Oh,
But yeah,
exactly. They've got
we
some
wish them.
excellent subjects, and
Hmm.
yeah, we wish them the best. Okay, moving on. We're going to talk about talking tools. Tonight, we're talking about the humble scissor.
Yeah.
The humble scissor. How many modelers first started with a scissor, even before a
Oh
hobby
yeah.
knife? But scissors
Yeah.
aren't just for sprues, right?
Spruce.
Aren't just for
No.
sprues. If you're a beginner hobby. No, we use them. We use
Yeah.
nippers now for sprues, but
Yes.
a lot of people started that way. And you know what?
Oh,
I still use a pair of very small scissors for sprues if I can't get the nippers in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't use them on sprues. Who knows what I did? I probably like twisted the piece off when I was a kid.
We all did that. Yeah, exactly.
But
then we
you
had
know what?
scissors, and then we had knives.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yes. And nail clippers, right? Of course.
And nail clippers, yeah.
But I got to say, I have a couple different pairs of scissors that live on my hobby workbench, and I use them all the time for different stuff. Not for the cutting out of parts from sprues, but
not as much anymore.
Yeah, they definitely come in handy, and you need a couple good sets, right? And we're gonna pay special attention to the photo etch scissors.
Yes.
Right,
yeah,
which is
absolutely magical. Tamiya makes them, because you can buy photo etch scissors, you can buy photo etch sprue cutters, but the photo etch scissors, I bought the Tamiya ones because I heard people raving about it, and these things they're amazing. They're not that I do photo etch a lot. Sorry, Ian from On the Bench, photo etch is not my friend, but in terms of getting a nice close cut, particularly in small areas where the regular photo etch nippers won't get to, these things are absolutely amazing. Yeah, and I use them for all the photo etch. I have a separate pair which have a slight angle to it for doing decal sheets. They're very handy for getting into a wide decal sheet if you need to get something in the middle. And like I say, sometimes I'll use a knife, but there is something, sometimes I find a bit more control with the scissors. And again, we were talking about sprue parts. And I talk about that because I have a little tiny, very small pair of, so like they're very tiny in size, but they've got good jaws, and they're very handy because I'm finding on this tank kit I'm building, there's quite a few times where the way they've put the sprue, you can't get a set of nippers in, or even a knife is risky. Where I'm finding these scissors, I can just get in, as long as I'm holding the part so it doesn't go flying away. Are very good. Now I don't use my decal scissors, and I don't use my photo etch scissors for them. But this other set works great. I think I've got about 6 different sizes and sets, and they're all sorts of different things. It's definitely something that, again, by quality, particularly for photo etch, and you can buy decal scissors apparently, but I like the ones I got these from FlexiFile. They're on like a slight 45-degree angle at the end, so you can get to the sheet from above. Cutting all the way through. Yeah, that's very handy. Very good. What about you? What are your favorites?
Well, I have some like basic office scissors that I use just for any kind of paper or labels, that kind of stuff. Also cutting out decals, and they've got to be about 30 years old, but they're still sharp. And then I've got these extra fine. They're a bit smaller, but they're like grooming scissors, and they have a beautiful cut, and they're even better for on occasion when I'm doing like foliage or groundwork, and you need to kind of change the shape on certain things. It's the scissor. I actually will use my scissor and kind of get in and especially like paper plants and that kind of thing too. I do use razor blades and X-Acto knives a lot as well, interchangeably. Sometimes it just depends on what exactly you're working at. but I'll use them for those types of applications too. But I end up doing a lot of labels and things on my on all my bases when I complete my projects,
Yep.
and I'll use that. I'll use those scissors, especially the fine cut ones, all the time.
Yep. No, very good. So definitely go out there, check out some different ones. And again, sometimes you may find what you find at the dollar store works just as well as the high-end stuff. But have a look, try different things, and it can't hurt. Okay, what's on the bench? Well, I am still plugging away at my Panzer IV from Academy, the 135th. I actually haven't had a lot of time to work on it because I've been busy doing a lot of video editing for our Patreon supporters and the general channel eventually. As well, our local IPMS chapter had its meeting this week or last week, and since I'm the president, I kind of had to organize that and put that together. So yeah, it was a very busy week, but yeah, slowly but surely doing some assembly. I talked about, as I said, I was using the scissors to get some of the very tiny parts, but we're slowly working on all the bits and bobs that go on the top of the main hull. And then next will be the turret and stuff like that. But yeah, so far so good. I'm really looking forward to getting to the weathering. I did buy some more weathering material. I was down at Forbes Hobby in Cambridge to meet up with Alan Murrow from IPMS Hamilton, because I now have in my hot little hands the Moosearoo Cup kits. So I will be winging Julian's down to Dave, and then we can get going on that. Thanks to Alan.
Is this cheating? Is this cheating, Stu? Now you've seen both kits up, and you've rifled through the box, and you have an advantage.
No. I've been
that.
I have been very good. You know what's funny though? MiniArt is very good. They actually give you can download the instructions, and they have some fairly good pictures of what you get. So you don't really have to rifle through the box, but
there you go.
In the spirit of fairness, I am being very good. I haven't even cracked the box open. So until I know Julian gets his, I will not even crack the box open.
You're an honorable contender.
I've downloaded the instructions and all that, but these are two very nice looking kits. So once Julian gets that, hopefully he'll get it once around the time I finish this Panzer IV, then we can proceed into that. But yeah, I also got, when I was there, I got some MIG weathering products, and I'm going to try some of those. What did I get? I got some filters, desert filters, and I did buy 2 more of the Vallejo metal color. So this stuff is like metallic, but again, it's an acrylic. It sprays on, and it's absolutely fantastic. I've got 2 other colors for that I use for exhausts and that. But as I mentioned before, there's probably a P51 in my build line at some point. So I did buy 2 more colors of the aluminum.
Well, those are handy all the time to have.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So I got that. What else did I get? Did I get something else? Now I'm going to have to drag my microphone way over to the magical modeling bench. I did get some Tamiya clear gloss. Just for, again, as a gloss coat prior to doing some other weathering and stuff like that. So yeah, that should be fun. And the MIG ones, to be specific, I got the filter, the ochre for light sand. So I've actually tried some of their filters before. They work very well, but again, it was there. It's hard to get MIG in London. So Forbes Hobby, Jeremy runs a great store in Cambridge, Ontario. Which is about 50 miles west of Toronto. He also does wargaming, magic, all sorts of different stuff, but he's got a huge number of paint lines. So he's got mission models, he's got the AK real color. I'm hoping he's going to get the Generation 3 in. He's got your Humbro, your Tamiyas, plus as well as a lot of the wargaming lines like Army Painter and that, which are very good, and Vallejo, and a ton of kits, all sorts of stuff. While I was there, a few other familiar faces were there, so it's certainly in use, and he's got a great store. He just recently reopened, and definitely if you're within driving range of Cambridge, Jeremy's store is well worth the drive checking out. So yeah, we went on my wife and I decided to go on a little road trip with the relaxing of the restrictions, but again, masks everywhere. So we did that, and it was a very enjoyable day. Again, nice to meet Jeremy and the team. Nice to meet up with Alan again. So yeah, that's what's been happening on my side of the world. How about you?
Let's get that off. I have been ramping up my construction on the 48 scale Moscato Hobby Models M72. So
Mhm.
um, it's almost ready. I've actually painted part of it,
Oh,
and
wow.
and I'm just sort of I'm doing it in sub assemblies, right? And
Mhm.
I actually did the base up, or started the base,
Mhm.
um, and a lot of those details are covered in the next installment of the in-depth review, which is ready to be edited by you.
Yes, yes.
So,
Anthony gave me more to dos. Just when I
more
thought I
homework,
was,
yes.
that's all right. That's all right. I'm looking forward to seeing, because you've been kind of secretive on that one lately. You haven't posted a
Yeah.
lot of shots. I'm looking forward to seeing the painting on
So I've made some good progress on that, and I'm getting a lot closer to the final paint, which is going to be a Murdic red.
that. Awesome.
So I did. It has these. The design of the mecha has these like laser. They're like laser weapons, and they're sort of distributed all over.
Mhm.
And it has like a coated visor. Like, you know how like I'm just thinking of the Nighthawk, for example, has the gold plating to be radar reflective. It has a similar technology in the visor. So I've done a bit of metallics, and I was debating doing bare metal foil, but I just got a new set of the Mr. Color super, what are they called? Mr. Metal Color. I got
Yep.
the whole set, so I was
Yep.
experimenting with those, and they look beautiful. And then I I did part of a base earlier, and then I needed to finish sort of the rest of the structure, which is just built out of like sheet stock, but it's like a cylinder. So I finished that up and then laid some of the groundwork in, and yeah, we're rocking away on that. And then at TV time, I've been working on the 1/35th scale trumpeter Type 89 IFE, just assembling that, just a billion pieces and lots of flash. So
Awesome.
very slowly working on that. I just decided to use my photo etch bender and make my own grab handles or
That's
footman
cool.
loops. I don't
Yeah,
think they're
why not?
footman loops. I think they're actual grab handles. So
Okay.
I made my own out of, they were just so brutal. I glued them all in and pulled them all out, the plastic ones.
Mhm.
So I made my own out of brass wire, and they're a lot more satisfying. And then so a couple weeks ago, I finished the 72nd scale Moscato Hobby Models Quedlin row kit,
Mhm.
and I was telling you about this. I took some really cool photos outside in overcast weather with some backdrops, and then I
Yep.
realized that you could see the edges of the decal symbols kind of right up front and center. So
Oops.
yeah, I conferred with Terry Measley, and I played around with some flats, and it helped to get rid of that little bit of carrier film shine.
Mhm.
And I got to take new photos. But I did a reveal video, headed your way for editing and then to be
More
posted up,
homework.
where I talked a little bit about the details of the construction. It's not the
Awesome.
best. I was disappointed. Well, not the best quality video,
It'll be
um,
fine.
but you can see it up close, and I talk about parts, part of the construction build. So if you're curious, there's 12 minutes of that.
Awesome. No, that you know
Yeah,
what? People love when you do demo videos. We always get a good reply, and
great.
yeah, like I say, you're kind of famous or infamous, or whatever you want to call it.
Infamous, yeah.
Infamous, that works. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, excellent. So yeah, lots happening. So
Hmm.
things we've seen. So I was a judge for Spray Gunner's latest model contest, and I
Hmm.
just noticed they just announced the results. So I've just
Hmm.
shared that. Some excellent stuff. So definitely check the link there on Facebook. And
Cool.
then our good buddy Hale, he had this one. I think some of the other two podcasts mentioned this as well,
Yeah.
from Model Airplane Maker. This is back from a couple days ago. He talks about, are we builders or finishers? And this is a good read. It's
I
quite
really,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, I really enjoyed this as well.
Yeah, so basically he kind of talks about, in the old days, you didn't have kind of shake and bake kits like Tamiya that pretty well fall together. Where you had to have a heck of a time making sure it looked reasonable before it even saw a bit of paint. Where now there's so many kits that just go together beautifully that
Yeah.
we can spend so much more time weathering, finishing, stuff like that. And he
Hmm.
raises some interesting points, like how do we define modeling? Now, again, I define modeling however you want. I do admit I sometimes build some dogs. I definitely, for example, that Skyhawk I recently finished, yeah, it has raised panel lines. So it's an absolute pain to weather. But I still enjoy doing it. But there's also other ones where, I enjoy, like I'm going to really look forward to trying some new weathering techniques on this tank once I get it assembled. And again, yeah, so it's quite interesting. It's a good read. He always does some good stuff, and it makes you think. So very much worth your time, about 5 minutes of your time to have a read. It may make you think.
Yeah, I really enjoy most of Hale's articles. They really are. They ask some very interesting questions, and he doesn't tend to ram a lot of stuff down your
No,
throat either.
no, but he
He
makes you
sort of
think.
just
He
he
makes you think.
posits some
Yeah.
different things, and they're a little bit more introspective, and I like them because they kind of they make me think about some of the things I really enjoy about the hobby, right?
Exactly, and that's the thing. In the end, it's the hobby. You want to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't drive you nuts. So, yeah. So that's pretty well it. We have a long show tonight. It's probably going to be at least an hour and a half, or if not close to 2 hours again. But that's awesome. So we just want to remind you, if you're not sick of us and you want to still hear about more modeling podcast goodness, don't forget to check out our friends at On the Bench, way out in Australia. Dave, Julian, and Ian, they do it every 2 weeks or every fortnight, as they call it. And then, of course, our good friends Mike and Dave, or Kentucky Dave, as we call him.
Kentucky Dave.
Plastic. He started that, I think, or Mike did, one of the two.
Yeah. We should call him Bourbon Dave.
Bourbon Dave, there's an idea. We'll have to ask him about that. And they're, of course, at Plastic Model Mojo, where, yeah, not only do you get advice and great tips on building and that, but they also will tell you all about the various fine bourbons and everything. Now, also a bonus for them, because Dave is very much involved in IPMS National. He's the membership coordinator, or something to that effect. So he's already reached out for next year's IPMS Nationals are in Las Vegas, and they've already been reaching out, and they're going to be doing a series of interviews and stuff like that with the organizers there.
Awesome.
I know Dave's already booked his hotel room. It's at the Rio in Vegas, baby.
Cool.
And apparently they already sold out of all the pre-blocked rooms. They've added another block. So
wow.
I think that was 1,600 room nights, and they've added another 800 or something. So it looks like it's up to a good start. Hopefully things improve by then. We wish and we hope for nothing but the best for IPMS USA down there in the Las Vegas group. We should remind people that who didn't hear us last week, Texas, who had to cancel, they're going to be looping back around in 23 years, 2023. Yeah.
Perfect. That makes sense.
Yeah, 21, 22. Yeah. So it's Las Vegas, and I believe it's Omaha, and then back to Texas. So yeah, it's on my bucket list. At some point, I want to get there. I want to get to Wonderfest. I want to get to want to get to a few places. So many times it's that whole money that gets in the way, right?
Money and time, right?
I know. How hard is it to pick 6 numbers? If anyone, as we always love our Patreon supporters, but if there's any really, really, really rich people and want to do, what do they used to call those people? Like Howard Hughes, the crazy millionaires or
benefactors.
Something.
I don't know.
Benefactors. Yeah. You can make Anthony and I kept men. We've been asking our wives for years, and they just laugh at us. God bless them.
Yeah.
So. All right. So as always, we want to hear from you. Let us know if you have any comments or suggestions through email, scalemodelpodcast@gmail.com. We do record bi-weekly, and we're available pretty well wherever your favorite podcasts are found. You can also get it on our website at scalemodelpodcast.com, but you also get to see the show notes and also the awesome photo gallery. And you can also links. You can also subscribe, because we don't just do podcasts, we do video updates and stuff like that. So if you put your email address in there, anytime we release a new episode, whether it's one of Anthony's video updates, events, or whatever, you will get an email. You'll be one of the first to know about it. You can just get right in there. And of course, we do have a YouTube channel. We publish the extra video content and the episodes there, because some people prefer listening to us on YouTube. And as always, if you enjoy the podcast, and not just our podcast, but our other 2 podcasts as well, whichever podcast program you use, you can usually leave a review. try and leave us a nice review. It really does help to get us out to more people. And of course, we have a Facebook page, like and subscribe there. And last but not least, our Patreon supporters. We definitely couldn't do it without you. Thank you to all you do. So once again, they enjoy early access to content and exclusive contests. And we'll announce our next contest next week, and that will be a Patreon one. We'll see what we can find in Anthony's goodie bag.
There is a stack of prizes, and they're pretty fun prizes.
See what we can find. Yeah, exactly. And of course, last but not least, don't forget our model contest. You have until September.
That's right.
It's the awesome model contest, Supermodel Contest 2020, sponsored by our good friends at Moscato Hobby Models. And you can go to scalemodelpodcast.com/SMP Contest 2020 to hear all about that. So,
but it's pretty simple, really. It's very open, and all you got to do is get your 3 pictures into the email.
The email smpcontest2020@gmail.com.
Yeah, to be in the running to win that sweet 148 scale baby space crab, which is the Invid Scout
something like that,
crab or scout pod.
He's purple and cute and a dealer of death.
Deadly, yes.
Deadly. And of course now we just announced the second prize.
Yeah.
What's that again?
124 scale Lamborghini Aventador from Aoshima.
Who doesn't like a good Lamborghini?
It's a pretty beauty of a kit. Yeah,
that looks nice. That looks nice. Yeah, there's a few car kits over the years I've wanted. That could definitely be one of them. So, all right. So, for the Scale Model Podcast, episode 51, my name is Stuart Clark.
And I'm Anthony Goodman.
Thank you, and be well.